Nairobi. We are also live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube. Kindly, where are you watching us from? Your suggestion, comment, also much welcome. And without further ado, I am joined by a tag team of very formidable, people of the cloth, and they will be telling us what they have been seeing in the last couple of days. Remember, the Interfaith Council did say that 14th of July, that is when all churches would commence the phased reopening. But some churches, synagogues, mosques have decided not to reopen. Of course, we will be getting into that much later. But joining me on set, on my immediate left, is Reverend Gitao Muheria. Mushugia, apologies for that, who is a Reverend at the Trinity Chapel in Thika. And on my extreme left, I'm joined by Dr. Sheikh Hassan Kenywa, who is a Muslim scholar and a lecturer. Of course, they will be telling us much more about themselves and what they have observed in the last couple of days. Gentlemen, karibuni.
Asante.
Perhaps to begin with you, Reverend.
Yes.
Phased reopening,
yes.
How have things been, and especially at your church?
Yes. Thank you, Ben. Gitao Mushoge is my name. I lead Trinity Chapel Thika, a church plant of Nairobi Chapel. We've been in existence for the last 2 years. Actually, we're celebrating our second anniversary this Sunday.
Oh.
But before then, I was...
the fanfare.
The fanfare, the pomp and the color. Yes. But we are well, and we appreciate this. This is a season that is here with us.
Yes.
So we celebrate the season.
Yes. Sheikh.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for inviting me, and for those who want to know who we are.
Yes.
I've been the director of religious affairs at Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims for 12 years. But luckily, when I was elected the national chairman of Al-Wahda Muslim Teachers Association in the entire country, I decided to quit and resign from Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims. And I'm proud where I am now. And I think the responsibility of opening mosques in this country actually lies with our organization, because we are the ones who train imams, we train the sheikhs, and most of our imams, our members who are madrasa teachers, also double to be the imams. Yes.
And early on, we are talking about the phased reopening of worship centers, and you talked about almost 80% of mosques have not opened.
Yes, 80% of mosques have not opened in this country. I'm the senior imam of Masjid Imtiaz Ali, which is near Jamia Mosque.
Yes.
It's here in town. We are the only mosque which opened this Friday in the CBD. And the reason is we decided that the government wants only 100 people per service. Good thing with Islam is that our prayers are short. So we had 3 Friday sermons. And in fact, we thank KBC. We highly thank KBC, because KBC have been airing our live sermons since COVID-19 appeared in Kenya, since March. And we highly thank them because they were there. Also, they covered the event. And we had 3 Jumas. So we had a batch of 100 people. Then they left. We had a batch of other 100 people. They left, then the others 300. But the people who had come for prayers were more than 1,000. So it was chaotic. It was chaotic. In fact, we are thinking, if possible, maybe this week we might not have the Friday prayers there. We might, because it took a lot of energy to tell people don't enter the mosque, explain to them why we only had 300 people. And you could see some people cursing everyone. There were curses all over. Some were cursing us. Some were cursing even the Interfaith Council. I think actually, Reverend, what should happen, these people who are in the Interfaith Council should go and seek prayers from people. Because if truly the curses will be true, if Ghana honors the curses of people,
yes,
these people will be in trouble. People are cursing them, literally.
Yes.
Yes.
But you've talked about 80%. That is a huge number.
Yes.
And Reverend, is it the same case?
I think
because
it's
some churches like the Saints and also the Family Basilica have talked about we're not going to be having the 100 people. We just continue with the online services.
I think it's important to look at it from, contextually. About 93% of churches all over the world have less than 100 people. that might shock you. 93% have less than 100 people. And I think that's why some people are really getting agitated by the fact that they're being pushed to have less numbers and all that, because even without COVID-19, they still had the same numbers. So, so that's why most of them, I know most churches opened with regulations, and they were able to adhere to the regulations. Simply because they have less than 100 even without COVID-19.
Yes, and on 6th of this month, when the president was making his State of the Nation address, he talked about the raft of measures that all the churches must observe if they are to start with the phased reopening. And if my director can cue that, we hear what exactly the president had to say. That is when he announced the measures to be taken so as to reopen churches on 6th of July. Kindly.
That places of worship will commence phased reopening for congregational worship and public, that is, individuals can attend worship in strict conformity with all applicable guidelines and protocols, including the self-regulating guidelines that have been developed by our friends of the Interfaith Council. Only a maximum of 100 participants will be allowed at each worship ceremony, which should not take more than an hour. That Sunday schools and madrasas shall continue to remain suspended until further notice. In-person worship shall not include congregants under the age of 13 or above the age of 58, and shall neither include persons with underlying health conditions.
That is the presidential speech, part of the presidential speech on 6th of July, when the president was announcing, of course, ending the cessation, and of course, phased reopening of churches. Kindly, Sheikh, let's start with some of the measures that we have to observe if we are to reopen the Sunday service. You talked about over 1,000 people, and you can only accommodate 100. Also, there have been calls. There are some churches with 15,000 seater capacity. They can be able even to handle at least 1,000 or 500. Would you support that?
I support that. In fact, going and looking at the president's speech, and that's something I wanted to speak about. You see, the president said that Sunday school and madrasas should continue being suspended.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the Interfaith Council, there is no one there who was representing madrasa. No one.
The 16 members committee?
16 members committee. And that's something actually, we wrote a letter to Honorable Mutaikagwe, and we copied the same to CS Matiang'i.
Okay.
In fact, I'm the one who signed the letter, and it was delivered. So when you talk of children not being taught religious studies, what morals, what values are we inculcating in our children? They're the same children will come to tell them go to mosque. Then they say we cannot go to mosque. I don't want to speak about Sunday schools, but I'm talking about madrasas. It was privy and wisdom if CS Matiang'i and Kagwe would have included someone from madrasa so that he can advise these people also on madrasas. Coming to the issue of capacity of 100, I think some people have said that those people who advise the president and the government on opening bars, in a way, they were a little bit better than these people from Interfaith. Because when the bars and restaurants were opened, we could not see a maximum of number put there. They only talked of physical and social distance in those places. Why do you come and put a bracket of 100? Our mosque, Imtiaz Ali Mosque, accommodates 3,000 people. Jamia Mosque said that they can accommodate 5,000, which is true. When you look at South B Mosque, it can also accommodate almost 5,000 people. So when you tell them to go and only accommodate 100, you are creating chaos amongst ourselves and conflict. What they could have done if I were them, and that's why I was telling the government also, when you elect and appoint people into some positions and task forces, go and look at people who have done it. For example, if they had a trained imam who has served like for 10 years in different mosques in that interfaith council, he could not agree to what those people say. But unfortunately, we don't have a practicing imam in the same. That is the challenge. Because what they could have done, they could visit each and every mosque in this country. They have capacity, they have money, they have everything. Then they go and look at the mosque and take the measurement of the mosque and say that for this mosque, which can accommodate 3,000 people, because we always stand side by side, then when they come up with the measurement of 1.5 meter, let them put even 2 meters. We allow them. They come and put 2 meters. You'll see that they'll allow us to have like 500 in our mosque. For Jamia, maybe they will even tell them you can have 1,000 people. So that could be very easy. And it's very easy for also someone to just stay there with that machine, which counts. Then, and of course, in the mosque, when you go, we have already marked in the mosque. Okay. We have the marks. So when you come, you cannot stand where there's no marks. No, you stand on the mark. We have already labeled the mosque. So I think that's what they could have done. Otherwise, telling people only 100, it's a big problem. And the challenge actually comes because of Friday. You know, Pastor says that he has given a percentage of churches which has less than 100. The same applies to mosques in the up country.
And in estates.
In estates, those ones have no problem. They can accommodate like only 50 people from the estate. But when you come to every mosque called Jamia, you know, people don't understand what Jamia means. When we talk of Jamia Mosque, people think of this Jamia Mosque in Nairobi. It's not the only Jamia Mosque. Jamia Mosque means any mosque which people gather on Friday for the Friday congregations. And according to Islamic jurisprudence, mosques should be minimized, the ones which take Jamia, so that all people gather together. And that is the challenge we are in now.
And still on the same, don't you think we might be handling a bigger case when you talk about madrasas? And you know, kids, I'm a parent too, I know kids can be a handful. You know, it's easier to control an adult than to control a kid.
And that's very true, that's very true. But I think if we will be allowed as madrasa teachers to have some sessions with the parents first. Okay. And that's what I was telling you. The role of our organization, Al-Wahda Muslim Teachers Association, is bigger than even the others which represent other people. Because as we deal with the parents of the children, we deal with the children themselves, we deal with madrasa committees, we also deal with the state and other people. It's just like means of education, because that side of education. So I think they could allow us to have sessions with the parents in the madrasas. So madrasas will be opened, because madrasas are schools. So that we can even have sessions to teach people about COVID-19 and even tell them that when you are now coming to the mosque, this is what you should be doing when you are coming. We will have already taught them. So what we did on Friday, we were doing like pastors too. You know, Muslims, it's very rare to see a Muslim speaking outside. But that's what we were doing that day. We had someone actually almost 100 meters from the mosque who was now advising people, please, when you go to the mosque, make sure that you have you are standing on the marks which you see there, because you cannot allow people to come in the mosque. Then when they are inside, that's when you start telling them you have to keep distance. You have to tell them before they enter mosque. It's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to get back to that, because of course you tell us about the letter on whether you've gotten any response on the same. Yes. Reverend, talking about 13-year-old and 58 cannot attend any places of worship. A lot of people have talked about the youths nowadays are just watching television, the services on television, and the elders are the ones who attend church, and they feel, no, at age 58, I should be actually, I'm supposed to be attending church or even a worship center.
I think it's important to look at it within context, because what I saw with many churches is that they didn't wait until the Interfaith Council
Yes.
gave their...
Yes.
We didn't wait. We had our own task force that was able to evaluate and get to see how can we reopen churches if we are told to reopen. So it's important for us to look at it within that context and also get to see that there are different phases. We have the pre-opening phase that is there with 100 people. Then we have the first phase, we have the second phase, the third phase, and the fourth phase. So it is important for us to always remember that as church leaders and as religious leaders, we have a moral responsibility. Just imagine, and if one person who is COVID-19 positive was to attend a service of 1,000 people, you can imagine how careless it will be, even for us as church leaders.
So you wouldn't support perhaps 1,000 or plus?
I wouldn't support that. I wouldn't support that.
Okay.
I'll be willing to say that it is important for us to look at it within context and get to see, and you've said it so well, that looking at our children, like Sunday school, children will not really know that this is my own mask. They'll keep looking at each other and I think your mask is better than mine. Can I feel it? Can I feel it? Can I feel? You see?
Yes, Ashay, are you listening to this?
so that would be so careless of us as
parents too.
As parents too. Yeah. So it's important for us to look at it within that context. Yes.
Ashay, of course you heard that. You talked about writing a letter to the government. Talk about there are some also other things you are supposed to look at. You'll answer that. Plus, the family setup, it's under siege. The president himself did note that on his speech and said that there are so many cases now of domestic violence. We're also having so many cases of people who are mentally disturbed. Of course, the COVID-19 pandemic is to blame. But some have also said that us not going to worship centers, we need the spiritual nourishment. And that is why we're having so many domestic issues. Do you support that?
I support that. And I'll begin with the issue of the letter.
Yes.
Since COVID began, actually, we have written almost 5 letters to the minister. And there is no any single letter which has been responded to in writing.
Okay.
There's a time, actually, on the 8th day, people were in uproar. They wanted to go to mosques. And we have been talking to people, like you see, between Friday, as soon as I left the mosque on Friday, I had to take a journey up to Garissa. I went to Garissa because I was visiting each and every mosque along the roads, asking them of the challenges they are undergoing, and also trying to know if they have opened. And that's when I realized that 80% of the mosques didn't open, especially the ones near the roads, and they gave the reasons. The measures are not easy. You see, for example, when you tell a mosque that if there is a congregation, a prayer congregation, then before the other prayer congregation, you have to sanitize and even wash the carpets. It's illogical. That's why I'm telling you, those people who are sitting in Interfaith Council, and that's why people are asking, why are Muslims so bitter to their fellow Muslims who are sitting in that Interfaith Council? They could have said that we are not eligible and we are not experienced in these matters. Go and pick imams who know how mosques are run. You know, as we use carpets, so my brother, you can ask yourself, how much does it cost to wash a carpet? 1. 2, how long does it take kukauka to be dry so to be taken back? So many mosques have been forced to remove all the carpets, so people will be coming to the mosque as if they are halls. Then they'll be carrying their own prayer mats, which is okay, and then go back home with them. So that's one of the challenge. So the 2 challenges is 1. When we also come to the issue of domestic violence and the rest, mosques are the places where when you go, my brother, because it's the house of God or the church, that's where now you can talk to your God. I know we can talk to our gods in our homes, but there are homes which were turned to bars many years back. There are some homes which are turned to be brothels many years back. So even when someone prays to God in those homes, they feel that there might be a gap somewhere. But when you go to the mosque, pray to Allah, then you prostrate in a mosque, there's a feeling you get. So that's a feeling which the government is supposed to understand. When people have domestic violence, in many circumstances, a lady or the man, where they run to, most of the time they run to the mosque. If a man or a spouse have a challenge, one of them, where they run many times, they go to the mosque, pray from there. Then it's from there when the imam can ask, but I've seen you crying in the mosque. What's the challenge? Then they explain this is what's happening. Then the imam can go back with them home. Now, when mosques are not opened, where do people go? These are the challenges we are facing. When children are being harassed or oppressed or seduced by people, there are children who cannot speak to their parents sometimes. Yes. They come to the imam and tell the imam, so-and-so touched my, so-and-so did this. Then the imam can know how to go about to even call the parents. That gap is felt there. And that's why the directive I gave to all our members in the entire country, Al-Wahda Muslim Teachers Association, from March, when the government closed the mosques and everything, I told them, continue with your work. Open your offices. People should be coming for counseling. And I think that's one of the reasons why you have realized that in Muslim areas, things have changed. They are not as bad as in other areas. And that's why we have been talking to Muslims and telling them we should not even allow chiefs and other people to be like the arbitrators or the judges. All cases of child abuse should be reported to police station. And that's why we are very happy with people from Wajir and Mandera who reported the cases to police, to the authorities in good time. If it's not the effort we have been making, those cases could not have seen the light of the day. Because they have always tried, in some communities, if you abuse a child, rape a child, for example, what they do, they call you in a small wazee meeting.
Yes.
Then you are told, they speak in that language, umevunja mbuzi yetu mguu. So go and bring a mbuzi here, we slaughter. So the wazee eat mbuzi, then they give something small to that family, that's gone. Currently, we have told all parents, please, and children, if you see anyone doing anything wrong to you, report it to the authorities. We have also urged the police and the chiefs not to become arbitrators or judges. Let these matters,
let the law
follow its course. So those are things actually mosques do and churches do. But if we close the churches and the mosques, these problems will continue being there.
Do you concur with Dr.
I kind of disagree with him. And I disagree with him because I think we've done church and we've done mosque more than we've done family.
Okay.
And this was just a time bomb that was due to explode. The issue was not when, the issue was not if, it is when. This was supposed to happen. This was due to happen. And what I think COVID is doing to us today, it is taking us to the fundamentals. It is taking us to the elementary school where we get to learn how to do family again. Because what has been happening for the last couple of years or the last decades is that people wake up in the morning, go to work Monday through Friday. On Saturday, you are a man, you take your car to the garage, or my wife goes to the market. On Sunday, we take our children, go to church. In the afternoon, we come home, maybe go to Kamaki's to hang out and start like joints, hang out with people, and we fail to do family. So I feel that one good thing about COVID is that it is helping us do family better than we are doing church. Believe you me, if we are to have a good family foundation, then we'll have a good church, we'll have a good mosque, we'll have a good temple. I think that is what I feel we've really missed. We've missed family. God created family before he even created church. So it is important for us to really go back there to that place of getting to know how do we practice this at home. This is what we keep saying, that every time that we meet on Sunday, it's like how you take your car to the garage. It gets serviced. The oil filter, the air filter, and such like stuff is all changed. Then you get to cover some distance. So that's the same thing. You go to church on Sunday for 1 hour, you go to a mosque on Friday for 1 hour, for 2 hours, then you are taught how to do life and how to practice that faith. Because temptations will not come in church. Temptations will not come in the temple. Temptations will not come in the mosque. Temptations will come in the marketplace. Because it is in the marketplace that I'll be tempted to take a bribe. It is in the marketplace that I'll be tempted to harass people. So it is important for us to get back to that foundation, so that we get to know we need to do family and do it right.
Okay, yes. Indeed, kindly be part of this conversation at Bentro Enjoy at KBC Channel 1. We would like to know, are places of worship, according to you, are places of worship ready to fully reopen and conduct services? That is, places of worship ready to fully reopen, because of course we have the phased reopening and we have seen some challenges. here and there, barely a month after the president did say that we can do partial reopening. Gentlemen, let's look at the leaders and also church ministers. You did mention that some people, of course, were contravening going to church when the churches were supposed to be closed, or mosque or synagogues or any place of worship. We have seen our leaders, our political leaders, do the same thing. So really, even if we were to do a full reopen, do you think we would really be having these challenges of people contravening?
The challenges will still be there if the laws have ambiguity, if the laws are illogical. Look at it. You tell me that if a child is less than 13 years old, should not come to mosque. If someone is 58 years old plus, should not come to mosque. This Interfaith Council was supposed to have known that 80% of imams, let me talk from my side, from qualified imams who conduct, who lead prayers in mosques, are past 60. By the time you become that imam who can lead prayers in any Jamia mosque in this country, many times you are past 60. So are you telling me that I should not come to mosque because I'm 60 now? Number one. Number two, even when our beloved president was signing that document, I think maybe he didn't look at the issue of age. Because if the president today signs the document and then we see him in church, he'll be the first one now whom will be asking people, why is he contravening the same law which he signed? If we see Matiang'i in the mosque, in the church, or Motaikagwe, we'll be asking, why are they going to the church while they are the ones who say that people who are 58 and above should not go to church? So I think what we should have emphasized on is making it like a guideline, that if you are, because what I was saying in our mosque, we can have a corner for 58 and above. A corner, we can do that. And people are so disciplined in our mosques. So if you tell them that this corner is for 58 and above, please don't touch them. Please don't, like in this Friday, we told people, no one should hug anyone. No one should greet anyone. If you want to greet anyone, just do it from far.
Yes.
And everyone was on their mask. What I'm telling you, brother, people actually followed the rules which are applicable. But coming to the issue of age, I'm telling you, there were more than 20 people who were more than 68 or who were more than 60. And they told police, there was some police passing there, and they said, arrest us and God will be with you. And that's what I'm telling you. This is the time police and this Interfaith Council will be getting many cases from the old. They could not arrest anyone. And if they arrested any one of them, I'm telling you, by today, we could be talking of having like 50 youth in police who are trying to save the old from being arrested from police. This is the chaos we are looking at.
Wow, the president is was between a rock and a hard place, right? Do you support?
In fact, I don't envy the president currently, because
he has to make hard decisions.
He has to make these hard decisions. And I think that the other challenge is that we've been living in dichotomy. What we learn in church and mosques, we do not practice that at home. Okay? And whatever we learn should not just be practiced in church, it should be practiced right at home. Now, even talking about under 13 and over 58, I also feel that even talking about people who are between 13 and 58 attending church, if anyone is in their 30s and 40s and they have young children, how do they come to church and leave their children at home? That would be irresponsible of them. Yeah, and that is something that we discussed with because we had a task force to look at how we are to reopen our church, and we were like, there is no point of reopening because we have many people who are in their 30s and 40s, and they have young children who are toddlers below 13. So how are they supposed to come to church and leave children at home? That becomes a major challenge. Yeah.
And now, my brother.
Yes.
Do you hear what Reverend is speaking about? Now, Reverend is speaking as a very qualified Reverend. He's looking at the issue on the point of being at this age and you might have children at home. So I'm so sure if he was sitting in that council, I'm so sure he could have maybe brought an issue of Sunday schools being opened, but giving a maximum of the parents. If you are telling me that a mosque or church will have only 100 participants, then you can say that, and we also have a maximum of 100 children in the Sunday school. So that if I'm the parent coming with my children, then I can go to this side of the mosque and my children are taken care by someone else in this side.
Okay.
Maybe.
Like a nursery inside the church
Yes.
or the worship center.
Yes.
Guys, enough civic education. There have been reports that there are some people who are not getting enough information on COVID, and I'm quite sure the church would prove to be the best place of also to add on civic education on COVID, on the measures, and of course on how to protect oneself.
Talking about this, I must admit that since COVID began, I've covered the entire country. The only places I've not reached is Turkana, Samburu, and Maralal. But all other counties I've already visited our members. There's a time I visited Embu, and I had a clip actually in my Facebook, Hassan Omari, where I visited some people in Embu. I was on a mask. Those people ran away from me. So they were saying...
Really?
Yes, they were saying, this sheikh has corona. To them, this is the corona. To them, I'm telling you, there are communities which don't put on this.
There's a big problem there.
There's a big problem.
Yes,
so I started explaining to them why I'm putting it on. Then they asked me, where are you coming from? I said Nairobi. Now that's when they ran away. Because everyone now, looking at anyone coming from Nairobi, they keep on saying, nyinyi ndio mna corona. Even when we went to Garissa, we were forced to sit, the three of us who had come from Nairobi, to sit on our side very far from the others. Because the others were not even putting on masks. So what I'm trying to say, if mosques were opened and people allowed to tell people about this, maybe the government could have said, for this first phase, maybe, for this first phase, we allow a mosque like Imtiaz Ali to accommodate 500 people when they at least maintain 1 meter or 1.5 meter apart. They say because we are opening 1 month, the first phase, to many people, so that the imams and sheikhs can teach people about COVID-19, about stigma. There's a lot of stigma.
Yes, a lot of it.
When you are COVID positive, I'm telling you, there's a lot of stigma. There were these students who arrived from Sudan, Muslim students who are studying in Sudan, and we have been fighting for their rights. We thank God and we thank the Minister of Health, Mutai Kagwe. We thank the Interior Minister. We thank actually the Minister of Transport who allowed a plane to leave all the way to Khartoum, bring these students back. But now when they came back, some of them didn't have even place to live. We had to go and get accommodation for many of these children. The first plane came, they had that challenge. The second plane came. My friend, one of them, some of them were my relatives. I could not even say hi to them because even the police is asking you, wewe unatafuta corona na lazima. To them, when they look at these people, this is corona. We thank God they have stayed in KMTC, Karen, for more than 15 days. They are out now. Only 3 were positive. Okay. The others were negative. Now we come to the 3 who are positive. Where do they go? The parents say, tafadhali, bakia huko. But they are saying...
Your own kids, right?
Yes, your own kid.
And doesn't have COVID.
No, the 3 who had COVID.
The three
even the ones who are negative, we have now cases whereby some parents have told them, tafadhali, don't come to my house till after 14 days again. These are the challenges we are undergoing. And these are the challenges which were supposed to be spoken in the mosque. So they could have opened the first phase for everyone. So that people can get information and teachings. Then the second phase, when now we tell them you have to come only 100, they could have understood.
But that would have been a bigger problem.
No, not a problem. Let me tell you, believers are very well behaved and disciplined. When the pastor tells them, tafadhali, maintain 1.5 meter apart, I'm assuring you they'll do that. And they'll tell them if the mosque is full, tafadhali usijilazimishe, they'll not enter. Because they fear the sanctity of the mosque. This is a house of God. If the man of God has told me not to enter the house of God by force, they cannot enter.
I think what I see is that our political class is letting us down. I would say so. Because they come with rules and regulations, but yet they're the first ones to break the exact thing that they put in place. they tell us not to have meetings of over 100 people, but they're the same people that gather people over 100 people. So you're wondering, do we have a constitution that is meant for the political class and one that is meant for the citizens? That becomes a challenge, and that is why you go back home in villages and towns, and you find that people don't believe there is corona. Because they are wondering, when I look at Mutahi Kagwe, when I look at Minister Matiang'i, when I look at the other politicians, they're able to gather as many people as possible. And some of them even have no masks and all that. So you're wondering, do we have some rules that are meant for the political class and others that are meant for and that's why when people watch TV, today we have, fortunately with FM, we have very, very many TV stations. So even back in villages, people are able to view and see what is happening. So when they see some of these politicians not adhering to the rules that have been set, then they keep wondering, how are we supposed to follow if they themselves cannot follow? Yeah, so I feel they are really betraying us.
Okay.
Yes.
Guys, we're taking a short, quick break, but when we come back, before the break, we are going to Mombasa. But before we do that, when we come back, we want us to discuss something on churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, places of worship. They do a lot of charity. And you see now there are no congregants. So we have a big problem on the other side of people who really need this help, the children's hope, the homeless, all these people. We are going to be discussing that. But for now, let's head down to Mombasa, where the Marikiti market is being reopened today.
Okay, good morning to you, Ben Troy, and thank you so much. You're coming to you live from Mombasa. I'm within the CBD, whereby today the governor of Mombasa, that is Ali Hassan Joho, is expected to open the Marikiti market, which is right behind me. This market was closed 3 months ago due to the outbreak of COVID-19, and this market is just within the vicinity of Old Town at the left-hand side where I'm standing. And as you understand, the Old Town area was the epicenter of COVID-19 here in Mombasa. But you are expecting this market will be open maybe in the next around 20 minutes. The governor will be here to officially open the market. And in that time when the market was closed, some renovations were taking place. And as it stands now, things are okay and everything is expected to be back in order. And as it stands now, the cases all across the nation is 13,711 cases as it stands now, and the government is asking everyone to abide by the rules of the Ministry of Health, that is maintaining social distance, sanitizing, putting on face mask, and avoiding gatherings or places where people are gathering, and of course maintaining the social distance. That's what we have as for now here in Mombasa. The market will be open in around 20 minutes or so from now. We're expecting the governor to make the grand opening in this place. That's what we have for you for now. And as you can hear maybe from the background, the sirens, the governor is almost here. We'll be giving you more updates in due time. And back to you, Ben Troy.
Thank you. That is my colleague Moses Mwadiga from Mombasa, actually the Marikiti market, which was closed 3 months ago due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the governor, Ali Hassan Joho, is expected there any moment. We will be getting back there to see exactly what's happening. Remember, Mombasa being one of the epicenters when we mention corona in the country. Well, going back to my panelists, and in case you're joining us now, this is KBC Channel 1 News Check, and today we are having a spot check on the places of worship, that is churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, that the president did say that they could reopen but faced reopening. And joining me is Reverend Gitao Mushogia, who is a reverend at Trinity Chapel in Thika. Yes. And we have Dr. Sheikh Hassan Kenyo, who's a scholar and of course a Muslim scholar and lecturer. Before we went for the short break, you had mentioned, of course, there are a lot of people who look at churches, mosques, places of worship as a fountain of hope. Others really rely on that. You've done a lot of charity work as church, as mosque. But remember now that there are no churches, no mosque as before. The situation is quite different. So how are you actually managing this? Because at the end of the day, these people still look up for your help.
Yeah. The main challenge, as I told you, brother, you remember I talked about Eid Day.
Yes.
The Eid Day, Muslims all over the country had decided to break the rule. And they had stated that they will go to mosques, irrespective of what the government is saying. Because according to them, the government should not control what Allah calls for. And we wrote a letter to the minister, CS Motaikagwe, but that one they called. They didn't write a formal letter. They called me, actually, and told me what we should do. And we thank God KBC allowed us airtime to talk to all Kenyans, not to gather during the Eid Day. We thank KBC, actually. You are doing wonderful as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Now, coming to Ramadan, every Ramadan, mosques feed people. This was one of the hardest Ramadan for Muslims, where they could not be eating at mosque. 80% of people eat in mosques during Ramadan. It didn't happen this year. Coming now to these days we are in, from tomorrow, Wednesday, we are talking of the 10 important days in Islamic calendar, Dhul Hijjah, where people go for Hajj. This year people are not going for Hajj. In these 10 days, we are supposed to be giving out. But you know how many times you give out in the mosque? You carry what you have in the mosque. People who come and pray, you give them. That's not happening now. So people will be suffering. Then on the from 10th, 11th, and 12th of this month, we do what we call, that's why it's called Eid al-Adha, the slaughtering Eid. We give people meat and food. So this year it will be a big challenge because mosques are not opened. So we don't know where to distribute food. We can follow them to the Vijiji. But you know, as soon as you enter a Kijiji with a car carrying meat, my friend, you'll have to give to everyone. We are not saying that it's not good to give to Christians. No, we want them to share with us. But part of that meat, most of it should go to a believer because to them it's a symbolic sacrifice, which even when they eat, they believe it's spiritual. So these are the challenges we are having. So I don't know, but we are in fact thinking of asking the government, not through the Interfaith Council, because the Interfaith Council will let us down. You know, for them, I don't know, they let us down because they don't understand these issues. They are not imams, they don't know what happened, some of them. So I think we can write a letter directly to, or request the government to allow Muslims on those 3 days of Eid al-Adha, the following, they are called Ayyamut Tashriq in Islam, to allow Muslims to go and slaughter their goats and cows in the places where they are slaughtered, then allow people to maintain physical distance when they are coming to pick the sacrifice and go home. Otherwise, the government will, in a way, they'll be also contravening the religious values, because if they don't allow people to come to mosque those days because of their issue of 100 participants, it will be a big challenge.
Okay. What I say, Ben, is that if you're to help someone, leave your camera at home. So, because I think that is our problem, that we want to help people, but we want to make it public. We want everybody to know and see that we are helping. What we do as a church is that we do not give handout. We give hand up. We want to help people because to move from their situation and get out of their poverty-stricken kind of life so they may maintain and retain their dignity. So even as we help them, we don't tell them to come and line up on a particular day so that we may give them food, because we must maintain their dignity at whatever cost. So we've been doing a lot of these. We have a kitty that we call Jirani Mwema. You can also contribute. I'm going to leave you with the pay bill. Jirani Mwema. Yes. And we are feeding so many families, but there is no single family that will be publicized there that they have no food. Because we must
there's a big problem right now,
dignity.
because at least some people do depend on the tithes and the offering or the grants that are given by either well-wishers or individuals.
Let me say this. People don't give because they gather on Sunday. And if people give because they gather on Sunday, then they are not givers. People give because they are convicted deep down their hearts that they are supposed to give. So they will not wait until we gather for them to give. We have online platform where people are consistently giving.
But I think our challenge is that we are not convicted to give. We don't see problems in our neighborhoods. So that's why we have to wait until Sunday gathering or Friday gathering for us to give. We give because we are convicted that we are supposed to give. Yes.
Yes.
I think, Reverend, thank you so much. I'm happy that I'm here with a Reverend from the Christian faith. The issue is that Islam and Christianity have a lot of similarities, but yet there are things which are very different.
Yes.
I'll give an example. When a Reverend speaks about Jami and the rest, those things, maybe, in Islam, we understand that in Christianity you have many denominations. And I'm so sure a person from a Catholic church might not think of going and get something from a cathedral or from the Pentecostals or the others. But in Islam, mosques are open for any Muslim. There's no membership. In fact, the issue of 100 number of participants and congregants can work in a way better also in Christianity than in Islam. Because we understand that in churches, people are known that these are our members. A pastor can give you even a register of the members. In Islam, we don't have that. I'll give an example of, for example, Jamia Mosque or Imtiaz Ali, where I'm the senior imam and the chair of religious affairs, or Al-Huda Mosque in South B. Giving an example of Al-Huda Mosque in South B, it is in South B, but around it is Kijiji. Remember, this time of COVID-19, people are migrating, shifting from one area to another.
Yes.
So any Muslim who knows that there's a mosque here, they will come. And there are also some people who are not Muslims who come to mosque. As soon as you come to mosque compound, we cannot tell you are not a Muslim. We'll give you. And that's what I'm saying sometimes. The easiest place for Muslims to give sometimes is in the mosque. And we keep on contributing on a daily basis, just as he's saying. But the symbolic giving, like the one for Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Fitr should be given to especially people who practice the religion. So they should come to mosque so that we know they are practicing Muslims. Yes. Coming to the issue of slaughtering, as I'm saying, it can be very difficult to tell Muslims not to give it in mosque. Because if you now make me go slaughter like 100 goats, then now go to Kijiji, I'm so sure I cannot control people in the Kijiji. They will come, fight for the meat. Instead of getting meat, they'll get COVID. But I know in the mosque, when they come to the mosque premises, as I'm saying, the sanctity of the mosque allows even a person who's so rude, who's so cruel, to at least, they will say for today, before the imam, let me be a good person. Take his 5 kilograms of meat, and because we are planning to give them even 20 kilograms of foodstuffs. So you'll take 5 kilograms of meat and 20 kilograms of food pack. This will serve you for at least 3 months as you wait. You have come with dignity, no cameras, because we don't allow cameras in mosque actually. One of the things we don't do, and that's why you don't see us even preaching many times, is because we don't do things with camera. Many mosques don't allow even cameras. Like Lamu. In Lamu, nothing happens with a camera. Many mosques in Lamu. So I think the best is for us and Reverend and others to sit down in one table so that whichever rules we bring, they serve all people same. But what Muslims are feeling, about the Interfaith Council is that the Muslims who are put there, like they are like rubber stamps. Whatever these other people say, those people will always say yes, because they don't have the expertise and experience of leading mosques. Some of them are government officials who are in that Interfaith Council. You cannot expect someone from the government to tell the government, no, this, no. They will always toe the line of the government. Those are some of the challenges we have seen, and that's why actually we have kept on telling the government, anytime you want to put people in any panel, any council, please go to the people and ask them. Let them come to Muslims and ask Muslims. Among the Muslim leaders we have in this country, can you kindly give us 5 people because we want to nominate them in a certain Interfaith Council? They go to the church also and then tell the church leaders, please sit down, give us 5 people for certain things. Those things work. But if you just go and pick people, put them in a council somewhere, then you call it interfaith. It is not interfaith. And that's why when you look at many clips from many churches, they're saying we will not follow anything out of this.
We are taking a short, quick break, but when we come back, when we talk about religion, there's a lot of touching in both synagogues, mosques, temples. There's kuwekelewa mikono, there's offertory. There's a lot of close contact. Yes. We look at that challenge when we come back. This is News Check, and I'm asking, are places of worship, if you at least have been to one place of worship after the phased reopening, are places of worship ready to fully reopen and conduct services? Hit me up on Twitter at Bentroy Njue, at KBC Channel 1. Remember, the hashtag is NewsCheck. Let's take that break.
Nani napiga? Nani napiga? Mimi sijapotea. Niko tu hapa. Mimi niko hapa kwa kuna tu mimi niko nakuja. Don't mind. Wacha hata usikate simu yako. Mimi ndio hii nimefika, hata angalia
kupata baba anakuja. Bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash. Bonyeza star 811 star 962 hash.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted. And always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
On the next episode of Corner.
You messed up with my personal life, but that is nothing. It can be cleaned up. But when you mess up with my business, I have no more use for you.
You will be fine.
What about Lucky? You're just going to leave when he's fighting so hard for his career?
Don't insult me.
It's not the Walter I know.
Kwani unajuanga anafanyanga nini mataa zikizima usiku?
But an affair.
Why did you and Angela fight? Was it because of Julia?
Are you falling for him?
Are you out of your mind? Saying someone murdered my husband?
Welcome back. This is News Check. I'm Bentroy Njue, and we are discussing matters, government regulation on COVID-19, and especially on places of worship. Remember, from 14th of this month, actually the Interfaith Council has talked about phased reopening after President Uhuru Kenyatta on 6th okayed places of worship to be reopened, and that is what we are discussing. Of course, a lot of challenges when it comes to some of the regulations that come with that directive, including 100 people, the age limit, and of course for the madrasas and Sunday schools are yet to be reopened. I have Reverend Gitao Mushogia, who is the lead pastor of Trinity Chapel in Thika, and have Dr. Sheikh, who's Hassan Kenywa, who is a scholar. And of course, and mentioning about a scholar, you also tell us about how students and how we should carry out this. You are a lecturer, right?
Yes.
And okay, you had talked about, we had talked about there's a lot of touch when it comes to religion, the sign of peace. Yes. For the Catholics. We have a lot of things that are done in the church. Yes. They have to involve close contact.
Yes.
And that's a big challenge.
That's a big challenge. As I said, you understand that, for example, I don't want to talk about churches too much, but I understand about churches because I studied Christianity at the university. For my undergraduate, for master's, and it's only in PhD where now I looked at Islam itself. But undergraduate and master's, I did interfaith relations. I understand, for example, when a Catholic enters the church, he can see symbols of Jesus Christ. He can see symbols of Mary Immaculate, or Mary. They call her Queen of Peace. To them, there's an attachment with those things. Coming to the mosque, for example, a Muslim praying in the mosque will see the mimbar. Mimbar is the pulpit where the imam stands. As soon as the imam stands in that pulpit, especially on Friday, you see everyone calm, everyone quiet, because there is, we believe that at that time, angels are very near us at that time. So when you pray at home, that feeling might not come there. And then we also believe as Muslims that when Muslims pray together, among them there are angels who come to join you. So it's not the same when you're praying at home. So those are some of the challenges we are having. And of course, in some mosques also, there are some symbolic things. For example, I was supposed by today to be in Hajj. I go for Hajj every year. This could be my 18th Hajj, which I've missed it. But when I go for Hajj, there is touching of that black stone where people die. I think you know people die there.
I remember there was a big stampede.
They strive to get to that black stone, kiss it, and when you kiss it, my brother, you feel as if you are dead. In fact, I always keep on telling people, some people don't die because they are strangled by anyone. They die because of that feeling. When you look at Al-Kaaba, the mosque at Al-Kaaba, you feel something, my brother. When you go to the Prophet's mosque, you see his grave, because his grave is still there. And as Muslims, we always say salam. We greet him. Assalamu alaikum ayyuhan nabi. You can get that feeling you get when you are there. So when you close the mosque from people, those feelings, you don't get them. Those are the challenges.
And of course, you had requested that at least we allow you to leave. But before then, perhaps your final remarks. And of course, I've picked up that the Interfaith Council did not actually do everything that perhaps you thought they would do. But just the quick one.
Yes, my final remarks, number one, is to request the CS Mutai Kagwe to at least include in that council at least two people, one who understands madrasa very well, and another who has been an experienced imam for many years. And that's the same actually request I had made to CS Magoha. Because when he also came up with the education committee, we didn't see someone from madrasa side also. We had someone from Muslim Education Council, Sheikh Munawar Khan, who we highly respect, and that's why you see in that area no one has complained, but he needed support from someone who understands madrasa. For believers, wherever you are watching from, COVID-19 is real. Please, maintain physical distance, always have your mask with you, always sanitize, and always follow the authority. But we are calling upon the authority so that people follow you as patriots. Let your laws and regulations also be logic.
Indeed. Yes. And a quick one, you did laud the media, and especially KBC, for what we are doing, and especially for on Friday or Saturday, and of course Sunday we also have, we're trying at least to reach all Kenyans wherever they are watching us from. What more do you think the media should do perhaps to help more when it comes to faith and observance of COVID-19 regulations?
Yes, first I must thank the MD KBC and also the entire team from KBC, Muslims and Christians. They have been a wonderful team because when we came and talked to them, told them that mosques are closed. Now the only thing we can do is to allow Muslims have a sermon in the television. They opened up for us. We thank you. May God bless you. To all other media in this country, please let imams, let pastors, let reverends, let everyone come there. And because now madrasas and Sunday schools are closed, please allow also that we have madrasa teachings in the television, in all media, and also have Sunday schools in the television. That you'll have at least fill the gap partially.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean, so much. And of course, thank you for making time.
Thank you.
And of course, we will discuss a lot. We had a lot to talk about, but we'll I'll just let you go for now because you have another commitment somewhere else.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making
God
time.
bless you.
Indeed, we are continuing with the conversation, and I'm left with with Reverend here, and perhaps what we've just talked with Sheikh Daktari, and a lot of touching, anointing oil, the sacrament, the Eucharist, all these things. They involve a lot of contact. A big challenge right now.
I know it's a big challenge, and I agree.
Of course, it wasn't mentioned in the regulations.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But I think it's important for us to get to understand that this disease is real. We've at least, every Kenyan knows someone who at least has died of COVID-19. Okay? Maybe through media,
yes.
Even some personalities, some media personalities, yes. And all that. So it's important for us to get to understand that. And therefore, we ought to be very, very careful not to intentionally strain our healthcare system through our careless lifestyles. So it's including religion. So
yes.
it's important. We can't be careless with religion and then expect to be of any influence in the society. So I know this is a challenge because we get to dedicate people, we get to anoint people, we get to do all that, but we need to understand that this is a new season. And every new season comes with its own challenges. So this is a new frontier that we need to embrace so that we get to know how do we navigate through this. Yes.
And perhaps to preempt what Dr. had talked about earlier, what more do you think the media can do? And of course, at least here at KBC, we're making sure we are trying all we can to bridge that gap, the spiritual nourishment gap. What do you think more the media can do? Of course, we are having adverts. We are also having sermons. We are also having on Friday.
Yes.
What more do you think we can do?
I think it's important for media to also speak truth to power. Yeah, speak truth to power. I know you try. But I think there is more that you can do.
Yes.
Speak truth to power so that when rules and regulations are given, you ought to stand your ground so that you're not muzzled by any power that be. Yes.
We are doing a good job, right? So
yes, you're trying. You're trying. So far, so good.
Yes, and also I believe that would be also a good platform for civic education, which has been quite lacking. You hear, even Dr. has agreed that there are some places you go, people don't really know, they just believe because they have heard it somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. I think I saw, I can't verify this, but I saw something on Twitter yesterday of a media personality who went out there and said that they're positive.
Yeah, actually they're coming out.
Oh yeah, they're coming out. I think that is the way to go about this, and media can do that because I think COVID-19 does not mean death sentence.
Yes.
So yes, I know there are people who die, and we don't ignore that, we don't forget that, we are not negligent, but it does not necessarily mean death sentence. So it's important for us, for people to go out there and confess that they are positive, and maybe they've been healed and they've recovered and all that. I think it's important for them to do exactly that.
Of course, and the stigma.
That way they'll overcome this. Will overcome the stigma because I don't really understand why people should be stigmatized for COVID-19. Yeah.
Okay. Church offerings and tithes have dropped by almost 85%. How are churches? Of course, we have the mainstream churches, perhaps, who have a lot of resources. They have even other churches who have business enterprises to chip in and help out. Of course, they have ushers, they have a choir. There are people who depend on the church, just like people depend on other businesses or a salary. How are you being able to cope?
I think I would try and answer that question comprehensively by saying that it is important for people to really understand how money works and how money operates, because principles of money are the same all over. It's not only in church, it's all over. And I know giving has dropped significantly, because it is not only in church where giving has dropped, where income has dropped, even outside there, because these are the same people who've lost their jobs. They've the companies have downsized, they are right-sizing. Companies are paying them, are sending them on unpaid leaves, giving them 50% pay. So it is not only church that is being affected; it is all over. So it is important for us as a church to look at it comprehensively and get to see how do we educate people on how to manage money. Yes.
And since all churches were closed in end of March, I believe, there have been a lot of buzz in the internet, of course. Even those churches or places of worship who did not believe that internet can really reach their congregants, they are really starting it now. And the good thing is that Kenya is one of the countries and in Africa that has done well when it comes to internet connectivity. How has it been for you, and especially for the church and for your members?
Yes, I think it's important to look at where the church began, somewhere in the book of Acts, how the church was born. In the book of Acts chapter 1 verse 8, Jesus said that you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you'll become my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. That did not happen until Acts chapter 8 verse 1, where there was persecution. So what I feel is that the church has been in a cocoon for some time, and now we've been pushed out to reach out even more people through internet. If I was to say, we are able to reach more people than even before through internet. We are getting more feedback than before through internet. We're getting to disciple people more through the internet. So it's important for us to embrace this because this is a new season, and you just embrace these new frontiers. I think the internet has been there for long, but we've remained closed in for some time. Now I feel we've been thrust out there to go and embrace this. Yes, and it has been quite positive.
And still on internet connectivity and the internet services and sermons, you have What Next by Faith. Kindly explain that.
Yes, we are looking at heroes of faith as written down in the book of Hebrews chapter 11.
Is it strictly for the COVID process that we are going through, or what?
Not necessarily, but we felt that because of this season, I think it's important for us to practice our faith. This is a time that we need to practice our faith.
Even more.
Even more. So we came up with that theme or that series that we're calling What Next? It is hashtag by faith, and we are encouraging people that this is how we can overcome through faith. Yes.
And I've also seen 14 days of prayer and fasting. You're really having a lot of projects at the same time.
Yes, we're having 14 days of prayer and fasting. We began last week on Monday, and we're finishing this week on Sunday. Just to continue, this has been our culture since we went to Thika, since we were in Roiro, and as Nairobi Chapel churches, we have a culture of having some days of prayer. We begin with 21 days of prayer in January, and mid-year we have 14 days of prayer. So this is a season that has come within COVID-19. But this has been our culture. Yes.
Okay. A lot of people, sick people, really want spiritual nourishment. They want to be prayed for. How have you been handling it? And of course, there are no, the churches have just been reopened.
Yes.
And of course, the people who are sick and underlying conditions are not supposed to attend services or mass or places of worship.
Yes. I think going back to Acts and even looking at Christ Jesus, I remember someone who came to him and told him that his servant is unwell, and Jesus was like, I need to come. I'll come. And the master said, no, you don't have to come. Just say a word. And that is what we are doing. You just say a word through a phone, and people are receiving.
But people want to be there.
Exactly, people are receiving their healing. Because again, we are trying to sensitize people on the need to adhere to the rules and regulations given by the government and the Ministry of Health. Because again, if we were to become careless, Ben, and then we go and we are all wiped out, who will even remain there to worship and to be in church?
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. And I want us to go back to the family setup again.
Yes.
The president did talk about, because there are so many domestic violence cases, but he also talked about the mental wellness of Kenyans, and actually ordered for a review of the same.
Yes.
Mental illness. Have you received perhaps people who want more than just the spiritual nourishment? They are disturbed and perhaps want some kind of help?
Actually, much of the work that I've been doing for the last couple of months now is counseling, marital counseling, via Zoom. I'm really counseling with many couples because, as we said earlier, most people have just been doing life. They don't even know each other. They've lived together for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. And what happens in any given relationship is that when you don't deal with an issue between you as a couple, you start laying some layers between the two of you. Okay, you keep piling on the layers and piling on the layers, and you keep piling and piling and piling until you get to a place where you can't even see the other person. But because there are children involved, people continue living together. So we are doing a lot of that, a lot of counseling, and we thank God that at least God is coming through for us, and people are getting to understand how they need to go back to the foundation.
And have you noticed the surge in the people who need that kind of help?
I think it's a reality that has set in now, or that is checking in now,
Yes.
that now they need to deal with their issues.
Yes, it
because
was
people
there.
have been avoiding that,
Yes, yes.
but now they have to deal with their issues because I have my wife 24/7, so I have to learn how to deal with these issues.
Yes.
Yes.
And the council, the Interfaith Council, did talk about one of the regulations being the formation of a COVID-19 response team in each congregation.
Yes.
That's a tricky one, because actually you have to be understanding. If you're looking at the Interfaith Council, it's comprised of people from all walks of life, but with a common purpose, right? Bishops from this religion or this faith. We also have the Muslim also represented, and of course there are other people who are not necessarily people of the cloth who are actually helping out in the Interfaith Council. Do you think forming a COVID-19 response team in each congregation, do you think it could be a tall order?
It's very, very possible, because you're looking at your context. Let me give an example of the number, like 100 people. Yes, the government has said that we cannot meet more than 100 people, but maybe your space can only accommodate 50 people. When you accommodate 50 people, you are full to capacity. So you cannot insist on meeting 100 people. So you need this task force that will be able to see how you can contextualize this.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hold the thought.
Yes.
The Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union are having the usual press briefing on COVID. Let's listen in.
Is to pass our sincere and deep-felt condolences to the families of all Kenyans who have succumbed to COVID-19 related health complications and COVID-19 in general. We note that there have been deaths of even popular personalities, the death of the former CS of Health, Madam Cecily Kariuki. We passed our heartfelt condolences to all these families of Kenyans. And for us as a union, is that this disease knows no boundaries, knows no social class. It affects everyone from the lowest member of the society to the highest member of the society. With that said, the rallying call is that this is the opportunity to strengthen the healthcare system for all Kenyans to be able to access quality healthcare services. There is a need to ramp up the testing capacity of the country. I think the Ministry of Health came out quite clear when they went to Parliament, to the Senate committee, and highlighted that our testing capacity could get as high as 30,000 per day. We are yet to get to that capacity. In fact, what we have seen is scaling down of the testing capacity in certain institutions. And that becomes an area of concern for all of us with regards to the direction we are heading. On healthcare workers, we'd like to say that so far, yes, we have lost 3 healthcare workers, 1 doctor, 2 nurses. I think that is now known. But what is worrying and what is now beginning to hamper the COVID-19 response is that the number of healthcare workers who are getting infected, going into quarantine and going into isolation is increasing significantly. Over 500 healthcare workers as we speak, and more are getting exposed at the workplace. And that means that the workforce on the ground currently is overstretched. We know that there was a directive to employ more healthcare workers and more specialists and doctors. This advert was advertised in April of 2020. Today is July. by the Public Service Commission. And into the 4th month, we are yet to see doctors employed and deployed to help the workforce on the ground and serve Kenyans with regards to COVID-19. And we are at a point where healthcare workers are burnt out. And we urge today to the government, we acknowledge all the efforts done, but this is now a matter of priority. And we are hoping that in the next 2 weeks, these healthcare workers will be on the ground. Otherwise, you will have no healthcare workers to take care of you. Because every single day, we have more and more healthcare workers going into quarantine and testing positive. So we therefore put it out there. We are currently at 13,000 total number of cases, approaching almost 14,000, with active number of cases over 7,000. We have done projections before on the human resource requirement for healthcare workers. We know the focus has been on isolation, bed capacity, but the HR component has not been given the priority that it deserves. KMPDU has a database of 1,000 doctors, medical doctors, pharmacists, and dentists who are willing and ready to serve the country and help in the fight against COVID-19. So we put it forth today, and we know that we submitted this to the Ministry of Health and even to the Senate Committee on COVID-19. Employment is now an issue of utmost priority. And I was saying this because we have seen 20 Cuban doctors who are said to be specialists being brought on board. The irony is that it has taken more than 4 months for the government to engage its own local doctors to combat COVID-19. That move, in as much as they are saying it's meant to build capacity, that move is in bad taste. You cannot explain in whatever way how you leave your own people, your own citizens, trained by taxpayers' money, trained by Kenyans, out of employment, and bring foreigners when we have not exhausted our own pool of healthcare workers. So we put it again, and I reiterate this, that we have 1,000 doctors. They are more than willing and ready to serve the country. So in the next 2 weeks, we would like these doctors to be on the ground serving Kenyans. Equally, we as a union are concerned about the state of preparedness in the counties, and more so the way the disease has now spread to over 44 counties. And we'd like to urge Kenyans that this disease is real, and I will keep reiterating, this disease is real. And we have to take utmost precaution. The more we have an increase in the number of cases, and the more we have more Kenyans going into facilities, you are overstretching our healthcare system, you're overstretching our capacity, you're overstretching the human resources for health. We therefore need to all play our responsibilities. For the citizens, take responsibility by ensuring that you adhere to the measures put in place. To the government, support healthcare workers. Bring on board more healthcare workers to serve Kenyans. Employ the 1,000 doctors we have. Unveil the insurance and compensation package. And this issue of compensation is an issue that is very important, because as we speak, there's a lot of evidence that COVID-19 is no longer a respiratory system disease. It is affecting many other systems in the body. The evidence coming from the European countries and the US, countries that are now 5 months, 6 months, and even China, where it originated from, into dealing with this illness, has shown evidence of neurological symptoms, strokes, impairment in memory, movement, heart disease, kidney complications. And all these healthcare workers who are now affected are at the greatest risk of suffering disabilities 1 year from now, 2 years from now, and 3 years from now. So from an occupational safety and health, we urge that, and we are going to put proposals today for consideration by government on occupational safety and health, compensation, and insurance for the healthcare workers who are all infected as we speak and will continue getting exposed and infected. And finally, we know and we have come across health amendment laws miscellaneous.
That is a live feed from along Gong Road, where the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union is having a press conference, and some of the things they have been talking about, they want testing capacity in the country to be scaled up. We've done 2,000, 1,000, 4,000 in a single day, but they want it scaled up to up to 30,000 in a single day. That would, they say, would give a bright picture on the current situation of COVID right here in the country. They also urge, they also want the health workers' welfare to be looked into. 3 medical practitioners have lost their lives in the line of duty. And they also talked about the Cuban doctors. You remember the Cuban doctors who have been called in to step up the fight against COVID. It's taking 4 months for the government to engage its own doctors to help in the COVID-19 battles. That is according to them, and they want those doctors in 2 weeks to be on the ground. Now after the movement cessation, now we could register a huge number of COVID-19 cases in the country, and of course telling the government to also step up the fight on COVID-19. And in case you're joining us now, this is a news check, and today we are discussing matters of religion and the opening of worship centers. Of course, from 14th of July, that is last week, the Interfaith Council had talked about phased reopening that they had been tasked by the president, who announced that on 6th of July this year. That is what we are talking about, and you could join in on Facebook, on Twitter. We're also on YouTube live, and also from the broadcasting house live. And Reverend, karibu sana tena. Yes, Reverend Gitau Mushogia is my guest today. We had a sheikh who had some other commitments, and he had to leave us. But we are continuing with that discussion at Bentro Enjoy at KBC Channel 1. And earlier on, we were talking about, of course, the regulations and how they have been able, the government and, of course, the churches.
Yes.
Now the mantle or the baton is strictly on reverends like you, fathers, imams, sheikh, and others. Let's look at the laws. Of course, there are regulations. They have not been passed in the parliament as the law. So if you contravene this is exactly what that is what is going to happen to you. And we had cases of churches contravening COVID-19 regulations even before they faced a reopening. It's a big challenge because some will not follow these rules. So what should happen? Because there are no rules without repercussions if you break the rules.
I think
because there are some who are going to do that.
Yeah, it's a real challenge that is happening all over the world.
Yes.
But I would highly encourage pastors and reverends and other ministers to follow and adhere to the rules and regulations, because the Bible calls us to obey and to follow what the government advises us to. So it's important for us as people of faith to be bold enough to follow what they ask us to. So I think this disease is real. It is happening. It is with us. Unfortunately, people have to wait until they get to know someone. Mwenye najua, this is my neighbor or this is my family member.
Yes.
And that should not be the case. We can prevent this now. We don't have to wait until we get to experience this with our family members and our siblings and maybe even our congregants. We can do better. I feel that we can do better.
And still on the regulations, one of the rules is that you have to be taken, you have to be checked, the temperature, you have to wash.
Yes.
Basically, this is an additional cost for some worship centers, and some quite don't have the muscle to do all this.
Yes. And
they still want to reopen.
I think I would go back to what I said earlier, that it is important for us to really understand finance, so that we're able to manage our finances well as a church. We've had a season of 3 months where the churches were closed, 3 or 4 months where the churches were closed, and that was even a good time for churches to save, so that at least they get to
looking at
because
it.
exactly.
Yes.
So, and I think that the challenge that I see with us is that with people of faith is that we have to wait until up to the last hour for us to react. We are not proactive, we are reactive. We ought to be proactive in every way. And that's why even before the government requested that churches get to have a task force, we had one in church because we want to be proactive. And if we are to really be the salt and the light of the world, then we need to really be proactive. Yes.
And did some of you said you had formed your own, perhaps a task force of your own.
Yes.
Did some of what you had suggested appear on the inter-council faith?
Actually, almost everything appeared. And it's funny because even before the churches were closed, that is in March, we were sanitizing our members as they were coming into church. We were looking at how we can social distance then, but again now the churches were closed. So it's important for us to be proactive and get to see how it is that we can do life. Yes.
And somebody asked, what about the training that's perhaps the ushers and those people who are checking the temperature to make sure everything they haven't gone, they've not undergone any kind of training. And still the churches want to reopen. And even if I had a temperature gun and I see your temperature perhaps is 38, what am I supposed to do?
Yes.
That's a challenge.
That's the proactiveness that I'm talking about.
Yes.
Such that I don't even know why we are running into reopening before we are ready. Because we have a responsibility, and before God, I as Gitao Moshogia, I have a responsibility and I have a case to answer. So I ought to be very, and when I stand before God, I'll not stand before kings and presidents. I'll stand before Him, and He will not tell me that the Interfaith Council did or the what did. No.
Yes,
I'll be responsible. So it is important, and what we are doing, for example, is that we are training our people. We are having Zoom classes where we are training our people and equipping our people on the best practice, how it is that we can get ready and be equipped for this. Yes. And so right now, it is not that the church is closed. It is only that we are out of the 4 walls. Yes. But ministry is happening, and there is so much that we are doing, and there is so much that we are supposed to do now as we prepare into the new normal.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold the thought. Of course, we're going to be discussing that further, and stigmatization, we just touched about it. We're going to look at that.
Yes.
We are now heading to Mombasa. Remember, the Marikiti market is being reopened today by Governor Ali Hassan Joho.
Tutamkaribisha acting waziri wa trade wa kaunti ya Mombasa, ndugu yangu Bi Mariam Mbaru. Karibu.
Asante sana Saad. Kwa majina naitwa Mariam Baruk na mimi ni waziri wa Finance and Economic Planning na pia acting waziri Department of Trade, Tourism and Investment. Ningependa mwanzo kushukuru sana watu wote ambao wamejitokeza kwa leo. Your Excellency the Governor, the area MP, the area MCA, chief officers ambao wamehudhuria kwa leo na wafanyikazi wote wa county, wananchi kwa jumla. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hamjambo nyote kwa leo. Asanteni sana. So hakika leo tuko hapa mainly ni ufunguzi wa hii barabara ambao mnaiona. Na hii barabara inatumika zaidi kwa watu kuweza kuaccess maduka yaliyoko hapa na hii soko la Marikiti. So ilitubidi tutengeneze hii barabara wakati tunafanya refurbishment ya Marikiti, hii ya chakula na ile ya nyama na kuku. So hii ilitokea wakati ambao kulikuwa na cessation of movement all town, and as we were making the market, we felt it's important that hii barabara pia itengenezwe ili iweze kuambatana na uzuri wa hii Marikiti. Kwa hakika mimi zaidi kwa leo ningependa pia kuwashukuru hawa wachuuzi wa Marikiti kwa ile subra ambao walikuwa nayo kupitia hii miezi takriban 3 ama 4 hivi, kwa kuwa na subra kubwa, kwa wengi wao wametegemea kazi zao kwa hii Marikiti kuweza kulisha familia zao na kumudu maisha yao. So kwa wao kutokuwa na kazi na kuwa na subra, kutofanya fujo na kusubiri mpaka leo ambapo tunafungua hii barabara na pia governor naye apate kuinspect hii Marikiti, tunawashukuru. Na we take cognizance kwa hii Marikiti, soko lote la chakula na hata ile ya nyama na kuku, kuna wachuuzi takriban 220. Leo tukizunguka tumeona kuwa stores kadhaa hazina watu. Na yote hii ni kuambatana na ule wakati wa COVID ambao watu wengi walikuwa wameumia kiuchumi. So lazima hilo ni jambo, na hakika Mheshimiwa Gavana pia kuna maneno mazuri ambayo atatamka baadaye. So naomba muwe na subra wakati wakizungumza. Pili, ningependa sana kumshukuru wale contractor ambao walifanya kwenye kazi ya kutengeneza hii barabara. Hakika wamefanya a brilliant job. Jua kuwa ilichukua muda kidogo, lakini ni kazi nzuri ambayo itakaa kwa miaka mingi na tutaweza kuitumia kwa uzuri. Napenda pia kushukuru wafanyikazi na maengineer wote wa Department of Transport and Infrastructure kwa ile inspection yao nzuri na kufuatiliza contractor kuhakikisha amefanya kazi mwafaka. Napenda pia kushukuru wafanyikazi wote wa Department ya Trade, Department ya Environment, Department ya Inspectorate ambao walifanya kazi kwa pamoja kuhakikisha kuwa wachuuzi wamewekwa kando na hii soko limeweza kutengenezwa na kumalizika bila bugdha yoyote. Zaidi hakika nimependa pia kumshukuru Chief Officer wangu wa Trade ambao, Your Excellency, initially when we were coming to do the market, we didn't envisage the dilapidated state of the market. So the scope of the work tuliona itakuwa limited. But when we came in, tuliona vile ilivyokuwa, our chief officer insisted that we expand the scope. Na ukiangalia hakika tumefanya jambo zuri, na naomba wachuuzi sasa tuitumie hii soko kisawasawa, ile management ya soko ikihakikishe soko linasafishwa, mitaro inakuwa clean so that kusiwe na clogging ya uchafu, ili wakati wa mvua unaona pia kuna flooding ndani ya soko. Ile freezer ambayo tumetengeneza kule waitumie kisawasawa isipate kuharibika. So sisi tumefanya yale yote ambayo imebidi tufanye kuwafanyia nyinyi shughuli zenu ziwe sawa. Na nyinyi pia nafikiri kwa sasa ni wajibu wenu kuhakikisha kuwa hii soko mnaitumia kisawasawa na iweze kuamudu nyinyi na familia zitakazokuja na jamii ya mbele. So kwa hayo machache, kabla sija hand over the microphone to the next speaker, ningependa kumwalika chairman wa hii Mackinnon Market aseme tu maneno mawili matatu ili na yeye pia aweze kusikika. Chairman Mohamed Ali.
Assalamu alaikum. Habari zenu. Twafurahi leo kwa muda wa takriban miezi mitatu tulipitiwa na ile lockdown ya Old Town, na kama wachuuzi wa Mackinnon Market tukaikubali ile hali, tukaamua kutoka kama wafanyaji biashara kwa ile amri ya serikali ile tukabili mbele, na tulisubiri, lakini subira yetu bila kufanya makelele wala kugombana, tukapata kitu ambacho kitatufurahisha sisi kwa muda tena wa miaka. Manake baada ya kutolewa hapa ndani na wachuuzi kukosa mali pa kufanya biashara na kwenda mbio kwa miezi mitatu, kuliingia ukarabati wa soko letu la Mackinnon Market la mboga, nyama.
That is a live feed from the Marikiti Market in Mombasa, which any moment now, the Governor Ali Hassan Joho will be reopening it. Remember, it was closed 3 months ago due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In case you're joining us, this is KBC Channel 1 News Check. And thank you so much for joining us. And as I had alluded earlier, we're discussing the reopening of the churches and worship centers. Yes. Of course, I believe the churches will represent a lot, but the worship center will represent all. Let us look at the financial constraint. A lot of people, of course, everybody is affected in one way or the other. Yes. And some people are trying to keep up with the COVID-19, but it's becoming so fast. Mm-hmm. The way you were living before, the finances and everything, and perhaps that is what is bringing the mental disturbance. The president.
If I was to lose my job today, or I get 50% pay, I need to take a step immediately and downsize my life and get to work on my budget and rework on my budget so that it accommodates the finances that is coming in. So it is important for people to face the reality and get to know that the repercussions of COVID-19 will be with us for a bit longer than we imagine. Because I know after March, when everything closed down, we thought maybe by May we'll be back. But here we are in July, towards the tail end of July. Yes. And we thought maybe children will be back in May, but they are not yet back in school. Yes. So it is important for us to face the reality and get to know that it is your life. It is your life as Ben and your family. It is important to become a bit more responsible and get to take those hard. The father told the lady, just step out. Show me those people that will laugh at you. Where are they? Because sometimes we really have an image in our mind that people will laugh at us. People will think, now I was living here, I was paying 100,000 rent, now I'm paying 20,000. I think it's important for us to face the reality. Yes.
Of course, remember even when the COVID started, all governments are talking about, let's check the 21 days.
Oh, yes.
2 weeks,
exactly.
1 month. But actually, COVID seems to be having a mind of its own.
And it is even becoming harder as days go by. Yeah.
Let's look at stigmatization. We did touch a little bit of that, but that's a very big problem because even the president didn't mention it about when he was announcing the lifting of the movement cessation and of course the reopening of churches. But the stigmatization is still there. A lot of people don't want to come out. They are fearing the stigmatization. Should we be also having centers perhaps to also take care of
I feel the stakeholders should lead in this. And I'm just happy the news feeds you've just heard, you've had a prominent person being mentioned, is it Cecilia or something? Yes. And if we, the stakeholders, can come out and confess that we are positive and all that, stigma will come to an end. Yeah, but the fact that tunajificha, we are hiding, we don't want to come out there and get to show and get to tell people, that is what is affecting us.
Do you think perhaps there's a problem because what we're hearing is that wear the mask, sanitize, but there's nowhere you will hear, remember the people with COVID, take good care of them.
Yes.
Don't stigmatize them. It's just an illness, just like any other. Perhaps we should include that.
We should include that. That
because
should be
in your summons. Too.
Yes, we should, and even in our summons, as you're putting it, we should include that. And in case someone is positive and they're public figures, let them come out and openly own up that. That we will get to know that, it is not as we thought. It is not as bad as we thought. I was reading an article on Sunday about this person who went back to the village and everybody was like, you've come from Nairobi, you've brought corona. and people are looking at this particular person from the windows and they're like, he's lost a lot of weight. It's true that corona is real. So it's important for us to come out and get to discuss this openly, then we'll be able to overcome. Otherwise, if we keep hiding, then we'll never be able to overcome. They say sin thrive in secrecy. And the same thing, this COVID will thrive in secrecy. But if we are to come out and own up and confess, we'll be able to overcome this stigma.
You're including that in your sermons?
Yes, we're including that in our sermons,
and because of the interest of time, and I think we should be picking up the pace.
Yes.
What more do you think should be done? Because as I said earlier, the interfaith pronouncement was just by faith, you know?
Yes.
They're just telling you, Reverend, please do this and this and this. You're not saying, if you don't do this, we're going to, like the bars. Remember, Mutai said that we find your bar open, we're going to tutaifunga kabisa. That's exactly what he said. But for churches, of course, which could be a very, very, very fertile grounds for COVID, there were no repercussions announced or anything. So anybody can actually reopen without actually minding about the repercussion, because that was not mentioned anywhere.
I would tell my colleagues, my fellow pastors, that God has entrusted us with His word.
Yes.
And He does not come with a bunduki telling us that you must preach it this way, or you must. The same way God has entrusted us with the word. And we have been faithful to follow the inerrancy of the word. The word of God has no error, it has no fault. We have adhering to that. The same way, we need to adhere to these regulations because the government has trusted us, so we must present ourselves as responsible people and responsible leaders. Because the government trusting us with all these souls and all these people, it is a sign that they trust us so much. So it's important. It's only important for us to adhere to this. Yes.
Man of God.
Yes.
Final word. Actually, we are running out of time.
Thank you, Ben. Yes. Fellow Kenyans, allow me to appreciate you and encourage you that this is not something that will last forever. We will get out of this season. The only challenge is that we don't know when, but we will definitely get out of this. And my encouragement is that we need to come out stronger than we got into this season. God bless you.
God bless you too, man of God. I have been speaking to Gitao Moshogia, who is a reverend at Trinity Chapel in Thika, just trying to put things into perspective when it comes to government regulations on COVID-19 and places of worship. Of course, I have also to thank Sheikh Dr. Hassan Kenywa, who was here. He's a Muslim scholar and, of course, a lecturer, and he also has some inputs in what we have been talking about. And now I'm giving the baton to Gladys Mungai, who will handle you during Tamrini. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on our social media platforms. Again, remember to keep safe, to keep clean, and of course, keep the faith. We're gonna trounce this. Have a nice afternoon.
On the next episode of Corner.
You messed up with my personal life, but that is nothing. It can't be cleaned up. But when you mess up with my business, I have no more use for you.
You will be fine. What about Lucky? You're just going to leave when he's fighting so hard for his career?
Don't insult me.
It's not the water, I know.
Kwani unajuanga anafanyanga nini mataa zikizima usiku?
But an affair.
Why did you and Angela fight? Was it because of Julia?
Are you falling for him?
Are you out of your mind? Saying someone murdered my husband?
On the next episode.
Don't trust me anymore, just say so and we can stop all this. Because I don't agree with you giving preferential treatment to Ramon over me.
What happened to you?
I was robbed and I had to give them Osvaldo's car.
Oh, honey, are you all right?
Yes. They just roughed me up a little and then they took my wallet and...
Been determined that the signature appended to the insurance contract whose beneficiary is Juana Lopez Ortiz cannot be proven as one belonging to Mr. Ricardo Medina Requena.
I told you so! This woman forged my son's signature!
In love with Ramon.
Hamjambo Wakenya wenzangu. Mimi ni Mheshimiwa Mize. Ninalotaka kuambia ni kuwasihi ya kwamba corona iko. Na ili tupigane nayo na tuishinde. Ukikohoa, tafadhali kama una ile ya kujifunika ile tissue, weka mkono hapa. Kama ni chafya yako acho na itabakia pale pale. Kama ni kukohoa yako koholea hapo. Na nakwambia tukizingatia sheria na tuitii, hii corona tutaishinda na nchi yetu tutarudi kama kawaida.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m, on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m, and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Say all kind of things about you.
We them on. Shake up. Need to mush you and done to mush you. When your booty got show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy.
Trago y ella la botella. Let's go.
Ha. I needed some with some bop in it.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Choro. Get the party more.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe.
Tekenya katoto, kamini tekenya.
Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear Up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe.
Welcome.
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyahururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri, Coast Maua na Kura kwa locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Outer Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboxer pale go down. Karatina Outer Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Outer Githurai 45. Lanet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Outer Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Fika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro.
Outer Gilgil live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive.
Thika Massive.
Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda Kisumu City. Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Despite everything, I thought you were an honorable man. A man with certain limits. But photo-changing pictures?
Honestly, these guys are trying to rob us. The bill keeps rising.
They say it's inflation.
Whatever it is, it's just crazy to be paying so much.
Mwanamke, kwani itakuchukua muda gani kuelewa? Nguo ilikuwa ni kuvutia macho yako. Gari ilikuwa ni yetu ya kujienjoy.
Ukiniuliza nitakwambia huo wote ulikuwa ni ujinga. Manake ulikuwa na act kama silly teenager.
Adhuhuri njema mpenzi mtazamaji popote pale unapotegea kipindi cha Tamrini. Asante sana kwa kujiunga nasi hii leo ikiwa ni siku ya Jumanne, tarehe ni 21 mwezi ni wa 7 mwaka 2020. Ni fahari yangu kujumuika nawe hii leo. Tuna mengi ambayo tumekuandalia hii leo mtazamaji, na kando na taarifa za jijini Nairobi, pia tutakuwa tunakupeleka mashinani tukueleze kulikoni. Mimi naitwa Gladys Mungai. Kwanza tuanze na shajara. Karibu tena mtazamaji, lakini kabla hatujazamia mada hii leo, ambapo tutakuwa tunazungumza na Askofu Charles Musili wa kanisa la Potter's House kule county ya eneo la Makueni. Kitui. Naelewa ni upande wa Ukambani. Mwelekezi wangu ananiarifu kwamba tutue katika kaunti ya Mombasa ambapo gavana wa kaunti hiyo Ali Hassan Joho ana kikao na wanahabari. Hebu tumsikize.
Mbunge wangu ni nini? Amesema kwamba tulifanya siasa pamoja, kutembea hii Mombasa na kuomba kura. Nataka nianze kusema na inshallah kwa uwezo Mwenyezi Mungu akitupa uhai tutaendelea bado kufanya siasa pamoja. We shall continue what we started. We must finish what we started, isn't it? Subuhi najaribu kufundisha kwamba Baby Katerina nshindo. Sasa mimi nataka niseme namna hii. Kwanza niwapatie shukrani wale ambao wamevaa barakoa. Na wale ambao hawakuvaa wavae. Wale ambao wameweka kwa kidevu pandisheni juu. Pandisha juu babu. Pandisha tu. Kukiwa na watu wengi ni muhimu uvae barakoa, sivyo? So nataka niwape shukrani wachuuzi ama the traders kupitia mwenyekiti wa soko hili. Niwaambie huu umekuwa muda wa mtihani mkubwa kwa sisi wote, lakini katika mipango ama mtihani mgumu hakukosi nafasi ya kutafuta suluhisho la kudumu, sivyo? Soko hili lilipokuwa limefungwa, tuliamua tufanye ukarabati, tulifanye soko la kileo. Na hata niwaeleze wale ambao hawajui hii soko. Hii soko ilijengwa hapa mwaka wa 1914. Yani this market was built here in 1914. So kwa mahesabu laweza rahisi sana kuhesabika kama soko la kwanza katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Laweza kuhesabika kirahisi sana. Na lina historia kubwa. Kuna watu wanasafiri kutoka dunia mzima kuja kuangalia hili soko. Kuna watu wanatoka ng'ambo kuja kununua spices katika hili soko. Sasa nia yetu sisi ni kulifanya hili soko kwa njia ambaye itawapatia watu wetu biashara na italeta utalii mkubwa. Ndio maana tumeamua hapa tutengeze hii barabara iwe ya kileo, tuweke parking, tuweke maji, tuweke vyoo vya kileo, ili mtalii akija, even if ni kuja kuona na kuenda, awe na hiyo nafasi. Sio kama tuko pamoja. Sasa mimi nasema hili soko la Marikiti ama Mackinnon Market ni mradi mmoja wa modernization ya soko zetu. Sasa hivi hata Kongowea we are modernizing it. Shika Adabu Market imemalizika, hata naambia watu wangu we should open it this week, maybe Saturday, Sunday, ili wachuzi waingie wafanye biashara. Alafu Abdulsamad umenipatia challenge. We are going to make Majengo a modern market. Soko la kisasa. Mimi nimesema kama kuna mafunzo ambayo tumejifunza baada ya COVID, ni kwamba kama serikali ya hapa Mombasa tutafocus kuwapatia watu wetu uwezo wa kiuchumi ama kibiashara. Tutafocus hiyo. Na mimi nimesema katika bajeti ya Mombasa mwaka huu, niliambia waziri wa fedha kwamba I want a special fund created ambayo itastimulate uchumi wetu. So within the county government tumeweka bajeti kubwa. We are already talking to the national government watupatie bajeti. Tumeongea na private sector and partners tuweke mfuko mkubwa. Our intention post COVID, Mombasa, we should raise at least 10 billion shillings for people to do business, and we can do it. And we can do it. Kila watu wapate access ya pesa, kwa sababu even if we are to shelve some of the projects, our focus this time will be to develop the people themselves economically. Sijui kama tumeelewana mpaka hapo. Tunataka kuona watu wako na pesa mifukoni kwao.
Mtazamaji, huyo ni gavana wa kaunti ya Mombasa Ali Hassan Joho ambaye anazungumza na wakazi wa eneo hilo ni kufuatia ufunguzi wa soko la Marikiti ambalo lilikuwa limefungwa hapo kabla kuhusiana na janga la COVID-19. Na tunafahamu kwamba kaunti ya Mombasa imekuwa ikirekodi visa vichache vya COVID-19 katika siku za hivi punde, na hivyo basi hilo limechangia katika kufunguliwa kwa soko hilo tena, na kwa hivyo basi anawarai wakazi wa eneo hilo kuzingatia sheria zilizowekwa katika kumudu janga la COVID-19. Hapa studioni mtazamaji ni naye askofu wa kanisa la Potter's House ambaye anafahamika kama Charles Musili kutoka kaunti ya Kitui. Tutakuwa tunazungumza naye kuhusiana na jinsi kanisa kote nchini zinavyomudu janga la COVID-19, haswa baada ya serikali kuruhusu kwamba kanisa zifunguliwe tena. Askofu, asante sana kwenye studio kuja katika studio za KBC hii leo. Tunapoanza tu taarifa zetu na mahojiano yetu hii leo.
Ndio.
kama maaskofu na kanisa mbalimbali, mlikuwa mnasubiria tu kwa hamu kufunguliwa kwa kanisa tena. Hebu tueleze tu, tukianza, ulichukulia vipi tangazo hili la kwamba serikali imeruhusu maaskofu na makardinali kufanya ibada hapa nchini?
Kwanza kabisa tunashukuru sana kwa sababu kwa muda tumekuwa nje ya makanisa katika hali ya kuabudu pamoja, na tunashukuru sana kwa sababu hivi sasa tunaweza ingia hata kama tuko wengi tuweze kuabudu. Kwa hivyo tunashukuru sana serikali kuona ya kwamba muda na wakati umefika watupe nafasi ili tuweze kuungana na Wakristo wenzetu ili tuweze kufanya ibada. Tunashukuru sana.
Naam. Asante. Pengine tukisonga mbele, matakwa yaliyopo ni kwamba lazima sharti kanisa liwe na idadi ndogo ya waumini. Hali hiyo mnaimudu vipi kizingatio kwamba kuna wale watu ambao wanataka pengine tuseme kanisa lako ni watu 100. Una zaidi ya wanachama pale kanisani, tuseme pengine 1000, na unapata kwamba katika ibada service moja hivi ya lisali moja wawe wamekuja watu zaidi ya 100 inavyotakikana. Unamudu vipi changamoto hiyo?
Kwetu ni changamoto, lakini kwa sababu ni tangazo tumepewa na mwelekeo na serikali, hatuna budi ya kufuata yale ambayo serikali imetupatia. Lakini ukiangalia makanisa yale makubwa utaona ya kwamba sio rahisi kuendesha ibada, kwa sababu kama vile wamesema watu ni 1000, watu 500, udhuriaji ni watu 100. Inakuwa ni changamoto kubwa, lakini tutajikasa tu ili tuweze kuenda pamoja na serikali, kwa sababu hii si jambo letu peke yetu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Ukienda mataifa yale mengine, nimeongea na wachungaji kutoka mataifa mengine, hata sisi nafikiri tuko juu kidogo, kwa sababu mataifa yale mengine ni watu 50 kwa ibada. Kwa hivyo tunasema asante, tunashukuru kwa hiyo. Yes.
Pengine ukitueleza tu iwapo hiyo changamoto ya kwamba watu zaidi ya 100 wanafika kanisani, wale ambao pengine ni 10 juu, unawafanyia nini? Unatatua vipi? Unawaambia pengine wasubirie ibada ya saa lingine, ama mna mudu vipi changamoto hiyo?
Kwa uhakika tulianza Jumapili. Ukiangalia kwa mbali kwa makanisa mengi watu hawakuingia sana. Na wakawa kuna ziada. Waliingia tu makanisa mengi, utakuta ya kwamba hiyo 100 kama ni zaidi ni watu 5 6, tunawapatia viti kando wangojee ibada hii inayofuata. Yeah.
Tumeona kwamba kanisa mnataka masharti yaliyowekwa, pengine tuliona wito ukitolewa kabla ya hiyo sheria kulegezwa kidogo, lakini hata baada ya kulegezwa kwa sheria bado mnataka masharti yalegezwe kwa kiasi kikubwa. Masharti yaliyoko kwa sasa pengine yanawafinya vipi, na mnataka pengine yalegezwe hadi wapi?
Unajua, mtu akiwa huru ukianza kumweka masharti lazima awe na shida hapa na pale, na hiyo ni kawaida ya mwanadamu. Masharti yenye yamewekwa, ukiangalia yamewekwa ikiwa inaelekea kwanza tuanze na tuendelee polepole, tuende tukamilike kurudi kwa ibada kabisa. Kwa hivyo yale masharti kwa sasa tutaweza kusema ya kwamba ni changamoto, lakini tutaendelea kuona venye yanaweza kuwa yakifanyishwa kazi. Maana masharti yenyewe ukiangalia ni mengi na ni mazito, lakini tutaenda polepole tukiendelea kuongea na serikali. Yale tunaona mengine inatufinya sana, kama ile ya umri ya watoto miaka 13, na yale mengine yanazungumzia watoto sio watoto, watu wazima miaka 58. Hiyo ni changamoto kubwa. Na utaweza kuona ya kwamba pia italeta tofauti kanisani.
Naam.
Yeah.
Kwenye hilo swala la watu wa miaka 58 na watoto wa miaka 13 kwenda chini, pengine umeshuhudia siku ya Jumapili kwenye kanisa lako, kuna wale ambao walijongea wakitaka kufika kwenye ibada, na ni vipi ambapo pengine unaweza ukanitambua mimi nikifika pale umri wangu umepita miaka 58, ama pengine mimi ni mtoto zaidi, siwezi ruhusiwa kuhudhuria ile ibada. Na unamweleza vipi kwamba kumhimiza tu kwamba hili ni kwa sababu ya afya yako, kwa hivyo basi nenda tu nyumbani ukafuatilie kwenye pengine mitandao?
Jambo moja ambao nimeona nikizungumzia Jumapili ni kwamba watu wa nchi ya Kenya ni watiifu sana. Nikiongea kuhusu kanisa ambalo mimi naongoza. Kwa sababu si kuona watoto wa chini ya umri wa miaka 13 wakifika. Na si kuona watu ambao ni wazee, ijapokuwa tu kuuliza maswali. Si kuona mtu yeyote ambaye ni zaidi ya miaka 58 akiingia. Hiyo ni kumaanisha ya kwamba watu walichukua tangazo la serikali na umuhimu sana, na wakahakikisha ya kwamba wamefuata na wametii bila kuwa na pingamizi.
Naam. Halafu pia kuna swala la kusema kwa sauti moja.
Ndiyo.
Tunaona kwamba kwa kiasi kikubwa kuna migawanyiko baina ya wahubiri hapa na pale.
Ndiyo.
Ni kwa nini basi msije mkaungana? Unapata kwamba hiyo idadi, kuna wale ambao wanasema hiyo idadi ya watu 100 ni kidogo sana.
Ndiyo.
Kuna wale ambao wameridhishwa na idadi hiyo.
Ndiyo.
Ni kwa nini hatusikii kanisa likisema kwa sauti moja kwamba tupatie idadi hii, ama kwa nini kuna migawanyiko?
Migawanyiko itakuwepo na itaendelea kuwepo. Hiyo uwezi ukalazimisha watu waongee na sauti moja. Nitakupatia sababu. Sababu ya kwanza ni kwamba kila mtu kanisa lake liko na ile tunaita space ama nafasi iliyo tofauti kabisa. Na tukiangalia vile tumeambiwa tuwe na social distance, utakuta ya kwamba kanisa moja tukifuata social distance inaweza ingia watu zaidi ya 100. Kanisa lingine hata tukiweka social distance ni watu zaidi ni watu wanaweza fika tu 20 tukiweka ile social distance. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio changio kubwa la watu kuongea na sauti tofauti. Na kwa mtazamo wangu ningesema tunapoendelea kuangalia hili, tungeachia ile namba, lakini tuweke hiyo sheria ya kwamba kuwe na social distance ya 1.5 futi. Hiyo ingeondoa hizi sauti tofauti. Kwa sababu kulingana na nafasi ulio nayo, basi utakuwa na washirika kulingana na nafasi. Lakini sasa kama ni 100, mwenye ambaye hana nafasi ya watu 100 pia ni majaribu, kwa sababu atasema lazima wawe 100. Sasa hapo ndipo shida itakuja kuwa kubwa. Kwa sababu ningetaka nifikishe 100.
Naam, asante. Na hilo swala la kutaka pengine ufikishe idadi ya 100, licha ya kwamba kanisa lako pengine ni ndogo. Atuzungumzia hapa kaunti ya Machakos, bali pia katika kaunti mbalimbali. Unapata ndio kuna wahubiri ambao kanisa zao ni kidogo tu kama unavyozungumza. Na je, pengine wahubiri kama hao hawatakuwa pengine wanahatarisha maisha ya kondoo wao pale kanisani, na pengine wanafanya hivyo kwa sababu ya tamaa pengine ya sadaka?
Siwezi kasema ni tamaa ya sadaka, kwa sababu si vizuri kuhukumu pande hiyo, kwa sababu hujui kwa nini anaruhusu kama itakuwepo. Lakini kile kitu kikubwa ninaona hapa ni kwamba ile nambari ilipotangazwa, Wakristo wenyewe watalazimu kwa njia ya kuja wakitaka kufikia ile 100. Sasa huyu mchungaji atakuwa na jukumu kubwa la kuhakikisha kwamba hawa watu umewamanage ama umewacontrol kiasi ya kwamba ni 100. Na kama hawezi wakafika 100 kwa sababu ya ile nafasi, itabidi wengine wawe nje. Kwa hivyo Wakristo wenyewe ndio wataingiza ama watalazimisha mchungaji kuingia kwa hatari ya kuachilia watu wafinyane. Lakini kwa sababu wachungaji ni watu ambao wanalinda mioyo ya watu, nina hakika kupitia kwa maaskofu ambao tunapeana mwelekeo. Maana baada ya serikali kupeana, sisi maaskofu tunaambia wachungaji, hakikisheni uhaki, hakikisheni ya kwamba watu keep social distance, ili tulinde maisha ya watu. Maana tunawalinda zaidi, tunawalinda ili wafike mbinguni. Hata wacha tu hapa duniani, tunataka wafike hata mbinguni. Kwa hivyo wachungaji wako na jukumu kubwa, na kulingana na mimi, kama kuna watu ambao wanaweza kulinda maisha na maslahi ya wanadamu ni wachungaji. Maana moyo wao hauangalii tu huyu mtu hivi, wanamwangalia pia maisha yake ya baadaye.
Naam, asante. Kwenye hilo swala la wachungaji, tukisisitiza tu zaidi, tukizungumzia, unapata kwamba wachungaji hao unaozungumzia, unapata kwamba viongozi wa makanisa mbalimbali hakuna mtu ambaye pengine ni wachache sana ambao wako chini ya umri wa miaka 50. Sasa unapata wahubiri wengi wako katika miaka 57, 58, 60 na kwenda mbele. Changamoto hiyo imeathiri vipi pengine utoaji wa huduma za kanisa na mnaimudu vipi? Kwa sababu unapata kwamba katika maybe kanisa zingine hamna mtu wa kuongoza ibada, manake unapata kwamba yule mtu ambaye anasimamia kanisa ama yule ambaye anafaa kuongoza ibada, kwa sababu ibada sasa sio nyingi, ni mtu ambaye pengine umri wake umesonga.
Hakika hapo ndipo kisungumkuti iko. Kwa sababu wachungaji wale ambao ni viongozi wakubwa, miaka yao wengi ni zaidi ya miaka 58. Na utaona ya kwamba makanisa mengi ambao unasikia hata bado hayajafunguliwa, hiyo ndio changamoto kubwa. Maana mchungaji anaona kanisa ikifunguliwa na hayupo, itakuwa kuna uongozi ambao haufai, kwa sababu ujui yule ambaye labda anamfuata wanaendeshana namna gani katika ibada. Kwa hivyo hii ni changamoto kubwa, na kwa sababu serikali ama rais ameshatutangazia, bado tunaendelea kuongea na yeye ya kwamba hii jambo ya miaka 58 haiadhiri tu wa Kristo, inaadhiri uongozi wa kanisa, ile inaitwa direct. Kwa sababu kanisa kama linaongozwa na mchungaji ambaye ako na miaka 58 na hawe mke wake ambaye labda anamsaidia ama kiongozi mwenzake mwenye anamfuata miaka ni hiyo, utakuta hiyo kanisa haina structure ya kusimamisha ibada. Na si rahisi, usione hili jambo si rahisi sana. Na linaingiza watu katika tatizo kubwa la uongozi. Na pia baada ikikaa sana inaweza hata changia mizozo katika uongozi wa kanisa. Na hapa ndipo naomba kama serikali na rais anaweza kuona ile hatari inaweza kuja, hili tuone namna gani tunaweza kusaidia. Maana mizozo inaweza zaliwa rahisi sana kwa sababu ya hilo tangazo peke yake. Maana kuna kiongozi anaweza sema, nyinyi wachungaji ambao ni zaidi ya miaka 58 endeni nyumbani. Na sasa anaona hii ni nafasi sasa ya yeye ajijenge na aweze kupeleka kanisa kwa njia ambayo sio nzuri. Na kwa njia hiyo, baada ya COVID-19 kuisha, kutakuwa na mizozo mingi sana ya uongozi wa makanisa. Na si kwa sababu ya kutaka, lakini kwa ile tangazo peke yake. Ile tangazo tu peke yake.
Naam. Na sasa pengine kwa mtazamo wako, wewe ni askofu na kwa hivyo basi hadhi yako katika uongozi wa kanisa iko katika ngazi nyingine. Pengine tu kwa mtazamo wako, ungependa swala kama hilo litatuliwe vipi?
Kwa sasa siwezi nikapeana mwelekeo, kwa sababu serikali ilipotangaza tuliingia katika hali ya kuchanganyikiwa. Lakini tungeiangalia vingine ya kwamba tungekuwa kama wewe ndiye mchungaji kiongozi wa kanisa na uko na miaka 58 na zaidi, na mwenzako ambaye anakufuata pia na yeye ako na miaka hiyo ama ni chini, uruhusiwe uweze kuenda kupeana mwelekeo, hata kama hutahubiri, hata kama hutakuwa unachanganyika na Wakristo, lakini upeane ule mwelekeo, kwa sababu nyumba ambayo haina kiongozi huleta shida sana. Na hapa nasema hilo tangazo limeleta matatizo na inaweza zaa mizozo hata makanisani, kwa sababu si kila mtu ataichukua na roho safi, kama vile rais alitangaza na roho safi. Mwingine ataichukua na itumie kwa njia isiyo nzuri. Ndio.
Naam, tukisonga mbele tuzungumzie swala la uhuru wa kuabudu.
Ndio.
Kuna watu ambao wanahisi kwamba hilo tangazo la kuambia kwamba msije kanisani wakati huu na pengine wakati huu na pengine misa na pengine ibada za makanisa ya Kipentekoste yasizidi muda wa saa moja. Wanahisi kwamba pengine uhuru wao wa kuabudu umehujumiwa kwa njia moja ama nyingine. Kauli zako ni zipi?
Bila shaka uhuru wa watu umehujumika, kwa sababu wakati tunapozungumzia ibada, kila mtu anaona ibada kwa njia tofauti. Mwingine anaona ibada kwake ni kuabudu siku nzima. Mwingine anaona ibada kwake ni dakika 45. Kwa hivyo tangazo hilo pia kuna watu ambao baadhi ya makanisa wameona wameunjumika, wamefikiwa, ni hali yao ya kuabudu imetatisika. Na kwa sababu ni mwanzo, unajua hili jambo tunaanza, na si vizuri sana tuongee kama ishapitishwa, ishakuwa ngumu. Hatujui hata kesho inawezekana kwa sababu ya njia moja ama lingine mabadiliko ikaja, mazuri ama mabaya. Tuwezi tukasema yote itakuwa mazuri kwetu, lakini ule muda umehujumu watu wengi kwa makanisa, sana sana makanisa ya kiroho, na sio tu ya kiroho, yale mengine, kwa sababu risali moja, wengine ni watu ambao wanakuja wamechelewa, anafika hiyo ndatika 30 za mwisho haja atakuta mumeiba, nyimbo zimeisha, atakuta mhubiri yako katikati. So kwa njia moja ama lingine imekuwa ni tatizo, lakini kwa sasa tutaenda nayo tukiendelea kuona yale yatakuja baadaye, maana sisi ni watu wa imani, bado tunaamini ya kwamba njia ipo. Tumepata njia upenyo, kwanza tumeanza, na kwa sababu tumeingia, nani ajuae kesho korona inaweza isha tukarudi mahali petu.
Kwa hivyo kwa sasa ambapo tunaruhusiwa kuabudu tu kwa muda wa saa moja,
ndio
pengine unahisi kwamba hilo saa moja linatosha, ama pengine linafaa liongezwe hadi masaa 2-3?
Kwa wengine yatosha, kwa wengine haitoshi. Kwa upande wangu binafsi, risali moja haitoshi, lakini lazima tutii serikali vile imesema, na kwa sababu ukiona serikali ikiongea, kunao sababu nyingi ambazo sisi hatuoni, lakini haturidhiki na hilo, na hatuwezi tukaenda kinyume ya hiyo. Tunasema tu kwamba risali moja haitoshi, kwa sababu mkiingia kuna jambo hili, kuna jambo hili, kuna kabla ya neno, na bado kuna kuombea watu, na si kuombea pale mbele, kuombea watu wote ndio waridhike, wasikie kweli walikuwa kwa ibada, kweli walikuwa kwa ibada. Hata makanisa yale mengine ambayo haina mambo ya kuomba sana kama sisi watu wa kiroho, bado wanasikia muda wao huo risali moja haitoshi. Lakini tunavumilia kwa sababu ni kipindi kingumu, na hili jambo la janga la korona lipo. Hatuwezi tukasema kwa sababu tumefunguliwa tuchukue ule muda tutumie vibaya, tutaharibu kabisa. Kwa hivyo lazima tukae kwa hilo risali moja, maana wenye wametangaza wako na sababu zile waliona, na ni lazima tukumbaliane na wao hili pale mbele tuende pamoja, maana wewe ukaenda peke yako, ukienda peke yako utafika mahali.
Asante. Mtazamaji, wapo ndio mwanzo unajiunga nasi hapa studioni, ni kipindi cha Tamrini, na ninaye Askofu Charles Musili wa kanisa la Porter's House kule kaunti ya Kitui. Tunazungumzia jinsi kanisa linavyojimudu wakati huu wa COVID-19, haswa ikizingatiwa kwamba serikali imeshatoa marufuku yake ya kufunguliwa kwa kanisa, na kanisa zilianza ibada zake rasmi hapo siku ya Jumapili. Kwa hivyo basi tuendelee tu kusonga pamoja. Askofu, tukiendelea na mahojiano hapa studioni, tunaona kwamba kuna huu muungano wa makanisa ya Kipentekosti ambao unalalamika na unataka kwamba kwa njia moja ama nyingine serikali ilegeze kamba na iachie kutekelezwa kwa sheria za COVID-19 kwa viongozi wa makanisa. Iwe kwamba watu 100 wakifika pale, hamna pengine maafisa wa polisi watakaokuwa kule nje kuzingatia kwamba pengine mimi nina maski yangu pale, vitu kama vyeuzi tuna sanitize hapa na pale. Mtazamo wako ni vipi kuhusiana na kauli kama hiyo? Ni kwamba pengine sheria zikifika pale ziachiwe uongozi wa kanisa, ama iwe vipi?
Kitu ya kwanza, muungano si mmoja ule ambao unaongea. Miungano ni mingi sana. Lakini ukiangalia mtazamo wa hilo jambo, miungano yote ni kama inakubaliana ya kwamba kule kanisani kusiwe polisi, kule kanisani kusiwe mtu wa kuangalia, lakini mchungaji, kiongozi na uongozi wa kanisa kwa jumla wachukue mamlaka. Na nafikiri hapo hata rais mwenyewe alisema vizuri, maana nilimtazama taarifa aliyotoa na maelekeo. Akasema polisi haiwezi ikawa kila mahali, lakini wachungaji, na ningependa niseme hivi bila kuficha, wachungaji ni watu ambao wana majukumu makubwa na wametekeleza mambo makubwa. Hili jambo la korona ni kidogo sana kwa mchungaji, kwa sababu ana nia nzuri na angetaka maslahi ya Wakristo iwe zuri. Sioni mchungaji yeyote anaweza furahia Wakristo wakiathirika na jambo hili la corona. Kwa hivyo pale kanisani wachungaji wachukue jukumu. Wahakikishe masharti yote yamefuatwa. Wahakikishe ya kwamba maelekezo ya serikali yametimizwa, na mwenye ambaye anaenda kando hata anaweza kuambiwa, kwa sababu wewe haufai barakoa, haufanyi hivi na tumesema basi hatukuhitaji kwa sasa. Enda nyumbani ungojee mpaka corona ishi, kwa sababu hata katika Biblia kuna sheria. Sheria haija kuja na serikali. Hata kwa Biblia ipo sheria. Na sisi tunahakikisha watu wanafuata sheria ya Biblia. Sasa hii ya serikali ni kidogo sana. Hii ni kidogo sana.
Kwa hivyo lazima sheria zifuatwe.
Itafuatwa.
Naam. Asante. Tukisonga mbele, pengine tuzungumzie swala la siku ya Jumapili.
Ndio.
Siku ya kwanza ibada kufunguliwa.
Runinga
ya Channel 1 ilipiga darubini hapa na pale katika kaunti mbalimbali. Na tuliyoyapata ni kwamba baadhi ya kaunti na kanisa katika kaunti mbalimbali hazikufuata sheria za kudhibiti COVID-19. Na maanisha kwamba hakukuwa na vieuzi, face mask kwingine hazikuwa. Alafu kulikuwa na kutangamana tu. Kwa jinsi ya kusalimiana hapa na pale. Na hivyo basi unaona kwamba iwapo sheria za COVID-19 hazitazingatiwa kwa baadhi ya makanisa, huenda kanisa zikawa kitovu tu cha virusi kwa jamii, ama unaona hivi?
Dada Gladys, wacha nikuseme hivi. Jambo lolote likianza lazima liwe na shida moja ama hapa na pale. Kumbuka ya kwamba tumefungua kanisa Jumapili. Uwezi ukaweka na ukasema ya kwamba makanisa yameshindwa. Hii ni mwanzo tu. Hata kama mtu yoyote akianza jambo, kuna ile kuanza. Na mwanzo unaweza onekana kama si mzuri. Hata wakati kavyu ilianzishwa, wewe mwenyewe ulikuwa pale ukitangaza, uliona vile watu walipigwa rungu, waliendelea kupigwa rungu. Walifika mahali wakaelewa na wakaacha kupigwa rungu. Kwa hivyo kulingana na mimi, mwanzo unawezekana kulikuwa na dosari hapa na pale. Lakini ngojea ibada ya pili na ya tatu na ya nne, utaona kabisa kila mchungaji amefuata sheria na Wakristo wamefuata sheria. Lakini hiyo haimaanishi ya kwamba hakuna wengine wataenda kando. Wenye wataenda kando, miungano ambao tumeunganishwa kule chini, maana tuna miungano ya wachungaji, tutahakikisha ya kwamba hata tutakubali makanisa watu waendeshe vile wanataka, kwa sababu hizi sheria tunalinda maisha ya wanadamu. Na ndio hapa ndipo nasema sisi maaskofu tuna jukumu kubwa la kuongelesha Wakristo wetu, kuongelesha wachungaji wetu na mareferend wetu, wahakikishia kwamba sheria imefuata. Lakini hii dosari ilionekana kwa siku ya kwanza. Nafikiri hapo tukiendelea na kusema walianguka, hapo tutakuwa tumeenda vibaya. Tuwapatie muda wa siku 2-3 kama vile tulifanya na kavyu. Tuliona vizuri watu walichapwa siku ya kwanza, wakachapwa, lakini hawakuchapwa siku zote. Walichapwa hiyo tu na wakaingia kwa laini. Nina hakika wachungaji na wengi wananisikiza, na sio mimi peke yangu, wamesikia sauti zingine. Jumapili kutakuwa tofauti na zile zingine. Tafadhali hebu enda mfanye vile mlifanya, mtaona tofauti na mtatangaza tofauti.
Asante. Vile vile tukisalia hapo kwa ibada za Jumapili, tuliona kwamba sio wengi waliohiari kwenda makanisani. Wengi waliona tu afadhali nifuatilie kwenye televisheni ama nikafuatilia ibada kwenye mitandao. Na tunaposema hivi ni kwamba kanisa ama ile muungano wa baraza la viongozi wa makanisa walikuwa wapewa muda wa siku fulani kuweza kutekeleza sheria za hapa na pale ili kuruhusu kufunguliwa tena kwa kanisa. Sasa wale ambao pengine walihofia kuenda kanisani ni kwamba wanahofu kwamba baadhi ya makanisa hayakuwa wametekeleza ipasavyo sheria hizo, ama wanaogopa kwamba pengine wanaweza, mimi niko salama nyumbani kwangu na kando pengine sio kanisani. Pengine naweza nikaenda nikaokota virusi kule.
Nafikiri sababu ziko nyingi. Sio sababu moja. Kwa sababu hata katika ibada za kawaida si kila mtu huenda kanisani kila Jumapili. Kwa sababu kuna wengine wanabanwa na mambo, anabanwa na jambo hawezi akaenda. Na tukiangalia vizuri tutakuta ya kwamba hata pia inawezekana wengine wanataka kuona kutakuwaje. Kwa hivyo pia hiyo inachangia watu kutokuwa wengi kanisani Jumapili. Pia kama mimi binafsi kama mchungaji kiongozi, nilipata ujumbe kutoka kwa watu mbalimbali wakiniambia, mimi nimeambiwa na bwanangu nisiende kanisani, ningojee kwanza. Wengine wanasema mimi na mke wangu tumekubaliana tusiende kanisani siku ya kwanza. Kwa hivyo sababu siko nyingi sana sana, lakini ukweli ni kwamba hata hii jambo la viongozi wale wanaongoza makanisa miaka 58 zaidi pia inachangia. Maana kuna mtu anajisikia kama kiongozi wangu hayupo, kwa nini niende? Maana kuna ule uhusiano wa karibu mchungaji na kondoo, mchungaji kiongozi na mchungaji ambaye msaidizi. Kuna hiyo uhusiano, na kuna wale ambao hataenda kwa sababu mchungaji kiongozi hayupo, msaidizi ndio yupo. Kwa hivyo kuna sababu nyingi sana zilifanya watu wasiende kanisani, na pia kuna wale wanaongopa hiyo vile umesema. Kuna wengi wanahofu ya kwamba nikienda huko nitapata ugonjwa, na kwa sababu ibada mtu alazimishwi. Ibada unaenda kwa hiari yako. Kwa hivyo hakuna mtu anapaswa kulalamika, hakuna mtu anapaswa kusema watu wamekataa kwenda, maana ibada ni kwa hiari. Na jambo moja ambalo naweza kukuambia, baada ya hii COVID-19 kutakuwa mabadiliko makubwa sana. Kuna watu ambao wataacha kwenda kanisa hili, wengine waende hili. Kuna wengine wataacha kwenda hapa, waende pale. Ni kwa sababu ni kipindi ambacho kimepita na mambo mengi sana. Kwa hivyo tusije tukasema watu wamekosa kwenda, hawakwenda. Kuna sababu nyingi zilichangia watu kutoenda kanisani. Yes.
Salamu za heri. Ndio. Kwenye kanisa. Unapata kwamba mnaambiwa pengine kwenye kanisa letu, mnaambiwa tutakiane amani. Lako sijui unaambiwa Wakristo wasalimiane vipi, na unapata kwamba hali kama hiyo kidogo inaweza kuhujumu zile sheria za COVID-19. Ni mikakati gani umeweka pengine kwa kanisa lako kuhakikisha kwamba yote yameafikiwa? Kuna zile kama salamu, kama sijui kama kuna mbinu tofauti yeah. Kwetu kuna sakramenti na jinsi wanavyofanya. Sijui kama kwako kuna kitu kama hicho, na unahakikisha vipi kwamba Wakristo wamelindwa, na ni mbinu gani unahakikisha kwamba kila kitu kiko shwari kadri ibada inavyosonga mbele?
Kuna vitu mingi ambazo tumeondoa. Ukiangalia kwa sababu ya COVID-19 ama corona, tunaondoa vitu mingi sana. Salamu ambazo ni za kunguzana hamna. Maombi ambayo ni ya kungusa mtu hamna. Na hata kule kuingia kanisani kutakuta kuna beseni ya kunawea mikono na sabuni yake. Hakuna mtu atakuonyesha. Kwa sababu sio kukuonyesha, lakini kukuelekeza, kwa sababu ishawekwa. Mambo mengine kama ukiingia kanisani ukute mtu ameshika sanitizer, hakuna mtu ameshika. Ni wewe mwenyewe utaona sanitizer ni hii, uchukue, kwa sababu kuna macho. Labda yule ambaye hana macho, hapo ndipo anaweza kusaidiwa kidogo. Hile ingine, mambo kama ya kutoa sandaka. Tunaambia watu watoe sandaka kwa njia ambayo ni ya kidijitali, badala ya kuchukua bahasha. Na kama ni kuchukua bahasha, wewe mwenyewe ujichukulie, na baada ya kutoa si kule huku nyuma, hili tuweze kupunguza ili njanga ambalo tuko nalo. Kwa hivyo tumeondoa vitu mingi sana katika ile hali ya kudumu pale ama kupata ibada. Na naona watu wanaendelea vizuri, maana salamu watu tumezoea saa hii. Sasa ni kuinuane mkono tu na tunatosheka. Hata hii ya kusalimiana miguu tulisema hapana, hatutaki. Pale kanisani kwangu mimi sitaki hata hiyo mambo ya sema sijui ni kungoteana ama namna gani. Hamna. Hiyo kama ni kungoteana iwe ni kwa familia. Na zaidi sana tumeambia Wakristo wakiingia kanisani, kwa sababu kuna ile hali ya mmeingia wangapi, mkiingia muingie katika hali ya kifamilia. Kama ni mtu aketi karibu na mke wake, kama mtoto wako amehitimu ile muda ile umri, akae karibu. Hiyo pia itasaidia kwa njia moja ama lingine, hili tuwe mwenye ako pande hii, mwenye ako pande hii labda ni mtu ambaye unamfahamu vizuri. Lakini hiyo ni kuwahimiza, maana hatuwezi tukaweka kama sheria, ni kuwahimiza. Na itasaidia sana hata mkiwa kanisani, hali ya pale kuabudu inakuwa nzuri. Hili ingine, hakuna kunguzana, hakuna kukaribiana. Ukiingia kanisa, ingia kwa sababu umekuja kusikiza neno na ibada peke yake, na utoke. Na baada ya ibada hakuna hata mambo mengi, ni kwenda nyumbani. Unajua hii janga, kuna watu wengi wanaona kama wachungaji hawajui kama hipo, na tuna hakika hipo. lakini tuna imani na Mungu, na ndio nashukuru sana tunapopata nafasi hii ya kuingia kanisani. Hatutaki kuitumia vibaya ili iweze kuondolewa, maana ikiondolewa tutarudi pale tulikuwa na hatutaki. Tuna hakika ya kwamba kupitia kwa maombi na ibada hizi korona itaisha.
Naam. Naone kwamba unawahimiza wanakondoo wako wazidi kufuata sheria za COVID-19.
Kabisa.
Na tunaposonga mbele tunaona kwamba misa na ibada zimeenda kidijitali.
Kabisa.
Unapata kwamba pengine mimi ibada ya Jumapili natumia rununu yangu kuambia pengine uongozi wa kanisa hifadhi kiti changu hapa na pale. Hiyo imerahisisha vipi pengine mipangilio ya ibada pale kanisani, na pengine kwa njia moja ama nyingine nikirejelea swala la mapato inakuwa vipi?
Ibada kwa njia dijitali nafikiri ni mzuri sana, kwa sababu kwa njia moja ama lingine litasaidia wale ambao wameathirika na wale ambao wako na matatizo mengine ambayo inalazimu wakae nyumbani. Kwa hivyo watu wameimarika. Kwa mfano upande wangu mimi tangu corona ianze, ibada zangu zote zimekuwa kwa dijitali, Facebook, na watu wamefuatilia vizuri. Watu wamekuwa kila neno. Hata ilipotangazwa kuna watu bado wanaendelea kule nyumbani, wanasema wacha nikae tu, kwa sababu mchungaji hata baada ya Jumapili kuhubiri bado iko kwa mitandao. Na tutafuata dijitali, tutapata ibada na itaendelea.
Na mchungaji, nazungumzia sio kufuata tu taarifa ama ibada na matangazo ya kanisa kupitia mitandao ya kijamii, Facebook, Twitter na Instagram hapa na pale. Nazungumzia wakati ambapo mhubiri wa kanisa langu ananiambia, Gladys, iwapo unahitaji kuja misa ya siku ya Jumapili wakati kama huu, tuseme pengine nataka kuja saa 4 ama pengine mtu anataka ibada yako ya saa 8, vitu kama hivyo. Pengine ibada yako umeweka moja saa 8, vitu kama hivyo. Lazima mimi mwenyewe nipige simu alafu niseme nihifadhie kiti. Hali kama hiyo unaona inaenda vipi?
Kama ninaelewa swali lako Gladys vizuri, ni kwamba unazungumzia wale watu ambao wanataka kufuata ibada kulingana na vile zimepangwa.
Sio hivyo. Nazungumzia swala la mhubiri ama uongozi wa kanisa kunilazimu mimi kama mfuasi wa kanisa ile, iwapo pengine nataka kuhudhuria ibada ya wakati fulani, lazima kwanza ni wa notify, niwaambie nitakuja ibada hii na hii, ndiposa pengine niwekee nafasi kama booking hivi.
Sasa ni mambo ya booking. Hiyo kwa sisi viongozi wa makanisa itakuwa si rahisi. Ni jambo ambalo itakuwa ngumu sana kumanage. Kwa sababu wakati watu wanaweza book ibada moja watu zaidi ya 100. Na kwa sababu angetaka kuwa katika hiyo ibada, wengine italazimu uambia la kumejaa. Na kwa njia moja ama lingine sasa itakuwa ni lazima kuwe na makubaliano katika uongozi ya kwamba sisi tutakuwa tunapokea wale wanaomba ibada hii, kama wakifikisha hii tunafunga hiyo. Hata mtu akisema anakuja, tayari tushafunga. Na hiyo pia kwa Wakristo itafanya wao wawe flexible. Si kusema tu ni lazima nikuje saa 8. Gladys asema mimi niko na kazi nyingine, lazima niingie ibada ya saa 8. Itakuwa ni lazima na wewe kama unataka ibada ukumbali ile nafasi utapewa na mchungaji. Maana tukisema kila mtu aende ibada anayotaka, basi ibada nyingine utakuta watu ni 30, wengine ni 300. Kwa hivyo baadaye tukiendelea utaona uongozi ndio utakuwa ukiamua. Unatuma request, lakini uongozi unakuambia nafasi iliyopo. Ni kama booking, ukienda mahali tuseme unaenda Mombasa ama ndege, unaambiwa basi usafiri haupo kwa sasa. Ukitaka usafiri ni masaa haya. Kwa hivyo tukiendelea utakuta kwamba wachungaji ndio watakuwa na uongozi ndio watakuwa kiamua kama tutaendelea hivyo.
Na kuna wale wanakondoa ambao hawako kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Na hivyo basi kuna mgogoro. Hiyo kwamba mimi sina jinsi ya kuingia kwenye mitandao na kuweza kuwekeza nafasi yangu. Sasa pale ambapo kuwe na mikakati gani katika kuhakikisha kwamba kuna usawa katika wale ambao mimi mwenye nakuja ibada pasi na kutotoa taarifa kwamba nitafika, kwamba niruhusiwe pale. Kwa nini viongozi wa kanisa pengine washurutishe wanakondoo pengine kutaka kusema mimi nitafika wakati kama huu?
Sidhani kama ni viongozi wa kanisa, lakini ni hali ndio itasulutisha. Ile mpangilio unaweza wekwa ni kwamba wiki katikati kuwe na desk fulani mahali mtu anaweza kuja kwa sababu ana ule uwezo wa dijitali. Anakuja yeye binafsi, anasema ya kwamba mimi ni Jumapili ningependa kuhudhuria kanisa na nitakuwa na nafasi masaa haya, ama nipeni nafasi kadri ya vile nafasi zipo katika ibada. Kwa hivyo si wachungaji, ni hali. Na ni vizuri Wakristo waelewe, sio sisi, ni hali.
Naam.
Maana hatujawahi kufanya hivyo, ni hali yenye imetangazwa.
Naam. Asante. Tukisonga mbele tu, kanisa lilifunguliwa kwa sababu serikali ina imani na kanisa kwamba kwa njia moja ama nyingine mnaweza kuwashawishi raia ambao ni wengi tu kufuata masharti ya COVID-19. Kwa mtazamo wako, kanisa pengine lina uwezo wa kushurutisha Wakristo pale kanisani kuhakikisha kwamba yale masharti yanayotolewa na serikali sio masharti tu ya kusema, bali lazima yatimizwe?
Kwa uwezo ambao tuko nao tutaongea, lakini ni ngumu sana kusurutisha watu na kuwalazimisha. Tutasema, lakini mwanadamu ni yule yule. Alivunja sheria za Mungu. Hizi zetu tutasema, lakini haitakuwa rahisi kwa kuona kila Mkristo amefuata sheria. Hila pale kanisani katika uongozi kuna watu ambao watahakikisha kwamba mtu akiingia amenawa, sanitize mikono na ako na barakoa, kwa sababu hiyo ni vitu ambavyo hatuwezi tukaruhusu mtu aingie kanisani bila hizo. Na kama ni kipima joto pia aangaliwe, hakikishwe ya kwamba hako sawa, kwa sababu hiyo ingine tunaacha, kwa sababu huwezi ukasurutisha mtu kumwambia lazima uingie ibada hii, lazima uingie hii. Haitawezekana. Hiyo ni ngumu sana kusurutisha. Na wanadamu ni wale wale. Kama vile nilikuwa nimekuambia, walivunja sheria ya serikali iliposema saa 1 mpaka wakapigwa. Kanisani utaona mtu akipigwa, lakini kuna wengine watalazimika kukaa nje kwa sababu hatutaingia kanisani bila barakoa, hatutaingia kanisani bila kuosha mikono, hatutaingia kanisani bila kufanya sanitizing mikono, ili tuhakikishe kuna ile hali iliyo nzuri pale kanisani. Yes.
Naam, tuzungumzie watu wa umri wa miaka 13 na umri wa miaka 58. Matakwa yao pengine pale kanisani ama wakiwa nyumbani, mnayamudu vipi kuhakikisha kwamba pengine hawachwi nje unapokuwa unahudumia watu ambao wana umri wa miaka kati ya hiyo?
Ili jambo si rahisi. Ni rahisi kuzungumza, lakini si rahisi. Na ni vizuri kusema wazi ya kwamba kuna hawa watu wako na miaka chini ya 13 wataadhirika sana. Ninajua kwamba ni kwa sababu tunalinda maisha yao, lakini sisi kama wachungaji ni lazima tutafute mbinu ya kuhudumia kiroho. Maana tusipohudumia kiroho watapotea. Watapotea kabisa. Maana huo umri ndio umri wa kuweka neno la Mungu, umri wa kupea watu mashauri, umri wa kuwapatia maelekeo mazuri. Kwa hivyo italazimu kila mchungaji, mimi siwezi nikasema tutatumia mbinu hii, lakini italazimu kila mchungaji kuhakikisha ana mbinu la kuwafikia wale watu. Na wale zaidi ya miaka 58 pia awe na mbinu la kuwafikia. Kwa sababu hawa ni watu ambao wana udhamana mwingi sana katika nyumba ya Mungu. Na ni lazima tuwapatie huduma ya kiroho. Lazima tuwapatie ile neno la Mungu. Hatuwezi tukawaachilia kwa sababu tu serikali imetangaza tuseme tumewaachilia. Lazima tubuni, lazima tuwe wabunifu, lazima tuwe na mielekeo na mikakati, lazima tuwafikie, lazima tuwafanye wasikie wanahitajika katika safari ya kiroho kwenda mbinguni. Ili wasije wakasikia tumewaacha.
Kwenye kikao na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta,
ndio
madhehebu yote pengine yaliwakilishwa kwenye kikao hicho, na pengine hisia za kila dhehebu zilitolewa kwenye mkutano kama huu, ama unahisi kwamba kuna wale ambao kwa kiasi kikubwa pengine matakwa yao yaliachwa nje?
Siwezi nikasema ya kwamba kwenye kikao kila mtu aliwakilishwa. Kwa sababu wenye waliingia kulingana na vile walichanguliwa. Na Kenya iko na watu wengi sana. Kwa hivyo sauti za wengi bado zilibaki nje. Na wangeleta sauti zao. Na si rahisi sana waingie, kwa sababu kamati gani ambayo inaweza kuwakilisha sauti ya kila mtu ni ngumu sana. Ndio wanasema ya kwamba maelekezo ambayo serikali itupea, ilipotupea bado itusikize, ili kwenye kikao kile kingine waone kulingana na vile wamesikia tukiongea, waangalie ni wapi tunaweza kulengeza ama kuelekeza, ili at least kila mtu asikie ako ndani ya hili jambo. Kwa sababu kuwa ndani ni jambo zuri sana, kwa sababu hakuna kutupiana maneno. Kwa hivyo kikao kile hakikuhusisha kila mtu 100%. Lakini wale waliingia, walileta sauti, na wale waliachwa nje bado wanaongea, na ile kuongea ni mzuri, maana rais pia anasikia, na kamati inasikia, na hiyo ni mzuri sana. Kwa sababu hiyo ndio njia tunasema kiongozi ni yule anasikiza watu vile wanasema. Kule ambako kunaweza kutengenezwa, kule hakuwezi kutengenezwa, tusonge na mbele. Ndio nikasema sisi kama viongozi wa makanisa, wale ambao tuna nia ya kuabudu Mungu, tumesema kwanza tuanze na hiyo nambari tulipewa, na hiyo nafasi tuanze, ili kutoka pale tuende na mbele, kwa sababu nina hakika ya kwamba hapa karibuni mazuri yatatokea. Kama kiongozi wa Injili, kiongozi wa neno la Mungu, hapa mbele ni pazuri. Mimi naona hivyo.
Naam. Kwa kidogo tuachane na ibada kidogo na COVID-19 na tuzungumzie msimamo wa kanisa kwenye pengine masuala ya kisiasa. Kuna hii ripoti ya BBI ambayo ya pili bado haijatokea, lakini yale mapendekezo yaliyopo kwa sasa, unahisi kwamba hiyo ripoti ama yanayopendekezwa katika ripoti hiyo yana uwezo wa kuhakikisha kwamba taifa limeungana?
Kulingana na mimi, ripoti kamili haijatoka. Lakini mwanzo vile tumeona, kama sisi watu wa kanisa, mahali popote watu wanakuja pamoja, sisi kama watu wa kanisa na watu wa dini tunafurahia. Maana tunataka watu wawe na umoja. Ukisoma Biblia vizuri, Zaburi 133 inasema ni vizuri watu wanapokaa, ndugu wanapokaa pamoja. Kwa hivyo hilo jambo la BBI kama italeta watu pamoja kulingana na maelekezo ambayo tutapewa, ni jambo zuri sana. Kwa sababu mara nyingi tunapoingia katika uongozi wa nchi, tunaingia nchi ikiwa imesabaratika. Kwa hivyo mimi msimamo wangu nikisema hivi ni kwamba ile jambo la watu kuja pamoja, mimi kwangu hiyo ni ongera kubwa sana katika nchi ya Kenya. Na mtu yoyote ambaye anaenda kinyume ya watu kuja pamoja, basi huyo ni mchochezi. Na hatuhitaji wachochezi. Hatutawafukuza, lakini tunawaambia ingieni, tuwe na sauti moja, ili wakati tunatafuta viti, tunatafuta kama watu, na baada ya viti tunafunga hiyo nafasi, tunaingia kwa maendeleo. Maana nchi hii tumekuwa na hali ya kutaharuki kila wakati. Lakini kama tunaweza kupata njia ambayo na mwelekeo ambao tukimaliza siasa, tukimaliza uchaguzi, kila mtu anachukua nafasi yake, tunaingia kwa maendeleo. Hiyo ndio italeta ukurasa mpya katika nchi ya Kenya. Na mimi kama mtu binafsi naomba ya kwamba hii BBI inapoenda kutokea, imalize huu mgogoro wa baada ya kufanya uchaguzi. Uishe kabisa. Na ninaona hapo ndipo tunaenda.
Naam, kwa kifupi tu, unaona kwamba katika hilo swala la BBI kuna wale ambao wanapinga, wanasiasa tu baina yao, kuna wale wanaopinga, kuna wale wanaunga mkono. Na jukumu la kanisa pengine katika swala kama hili, na mna jukumu la kuhakikisha kwamba wafuasi wenu wanaelewa ripoti kama ile na kuwashinikiza kwamba pengine upande huu ndio bora zaidi kuliko upande ule. Je, pengine kanisa lina jukumu sawia na lipi? Na mzigo wenu pale ni upi kuhakikisha kwamba kondoo wenu ama wananchi kwa jumla, manake mna jukumu la kuhakikisha kwamba kidogo hawashawishiwi kwenda upande ambao pengine sio kwa manufaa? Manake unaelewa kwamba wanasiasa wakati mwingine watapigia debe kitu ambacho si cha manufaa ya wananchi.
Ukweli ni kwamba hakuna jambo ambalo litaleta duniani ikose kuwa na wapinzani. Hilo ni ukweli. Lakini jambo hili litapotokea, BBI report itakapokuja, jukumu la kanisa ni kuelimisha na kuhakikisha kwamba watu wameona ile mlengo ambao unaleta umoja. Hiyo ndio sauti kanisa itasimama. Na ukiona kiongozi ambaye hataki tuwe na umoja, hataki watu wawe katika hali ya baada ya uchaguzi tunasimamisha mambo ya siasa, basi nafikiri katika hali ya uongozi wa kanisa hatakuwa ametoka, maana Mungu hapendi uchochezi. Na kitu kimoja tunapaswa kuelewa ni ya kwamba baada ya serikali kuingia katika uongozi iwe na wakosoaji, lakini si wachochezi. Unajua kuna tofauti ya ukosoaji na uchochezi.
Naam, asante. Askofu Charles Musili Kimolo wa kanisa la Potter's House kule kaunti ya Kitui, asante sana kwa kujumuika nasi siku ya leo. Mtazamaji, basi kufikia hapo sina la ziada ila kutamatisha kipindi cha Tamrini siku ya leo. Mimi naitwa Gladys Mungai, nimekuwa nikimshikia zamu mwenzangu Timothy Kipnusu, yuko katika likizo kidogo, atakuwa anajumuika nawe muda usio mrefu siku kadhaa zinazokuja. Mimi naondoka, ila mtazamaji, huo sio mwisho wa kutazama runinga ya Channel 1, manake mwenzangu Bento Enjoy anakujia na kitengo cha Lunchtime News. Kwa na siku njema.